Xianxia has returned from the dead end of Mist End Valley, wielding the forbidden flames of the Golden Crow. A confrontation with Mu Yizhu erupts, and a journey to the Flame God realm begins. Leave a like and subscribe to walk this path. Dead End, Mist End Valley had always been a relatively quiet place. The law of the jungle here was far crueler than any other region, so even the roars of profound beasts could scarcely be heard. Every profound beast that existed in Mist End Valley had ice-based powers, and every human being that was exiled into this place was an Ice Phoenix disciple. Therefore, fire was almost non-existent in this place, much less the omnipresent divine flames of the Golden Crow. The spreading sea of Golden Crow flames was without a doubt an atomic bomb in this deadly quiet valley. It instantly drew the fearful, shocked, angry, or irritated howls of countless profound beasts. The weaker profound beasts that were caught by the blast were either burned or killed outright, while the powerful ones were provoked into violent rampages. Outside the flames, the air was turbulent and snow was flying everywhere. Countless profound beasts surged to the center of the explosion, as bestial roars and presences, so terrifying they couldn't be described, ran rampant all over the place. Ah! Amidst the flames, Mu Yizhu let out a throaty howl and backed away continuously from Xianxia. It was obvious that he was being attacked by the profound beasts already. Xianxia, have you gone insane? Heh, now there's no telling who's going to die first. Xianxia laughed madly before choosing a random direction and running away at top speed. Since he couldn't shake off Mu Yizhu, the final plan he had in his mind was to alert the profound beasts and use them to delay him, or even better, kill him. Although his quickest speed was inferior to Mu Yizhu's, extreme mirage lightning wasn't the only technique he possessed. He also had Star God's Broken Shadow and Moon-Splitting Cascade. Moreover, these ice-type profound beasts were certainly going to lose their cool under the provocation of the Golden Crow flames, so escaping became a much easier task than it would have been otherwise. All around him, the auras of profound beasts ran rampant like many storms. They came from the front, the sides, the back, and even the sky. Xianxia inhaled deeply and gritted his teeth. He clenched his fists tightly and narrowed his eyes, focus. Clear my mind. The five senses, spirit sense, sensation. Let's do this. Not only did Xianxia slow down in the face of the profound beasts that were pouncing towards him from every direction, he even quickened his pace and left behind a dizzying trail of afterimages. When the afterimages vanished, he too had vanished into the flames. The heaven-smiting sword had been put away. He wasn't sure how many times he executed Star God's Broken Shadow and Moon-Splitting Cascade, but he must have done it at least hundreds or even thousands of times during the 5 kilometers he traveled inside the Sea of Flames. The number of afterimages that were crushed by the violent, profound beasts was literally uncountable. When he finally burst out of the fire-enshrouded area, the first thing that entered his sight was a sea of alarmed, profound beasts. They all charged madly towards him. Xianxia leaped until he was at least 3,000 meters in the air. But before he could stop himself, several fierce blizzard hawks swooped towards him with deadly intent. Violent storms were surrounding his body even before the claws could reach him. A blue, draconic shadow appeared as Xianxia's eyes turned dark. Dragon Soul Domain. The deterrent force of the dragon gods might far exceeded that of a human being at the same level. Therefore, the world-shaking dragon roar had caused the profound beasts beneath him to scamper away in fear, and the 6 fierce blizzard hawks near him to spasm in midair and fall down in a straight line. The storms that surrounded him quickly dissipated as well. Without pausing for even a second, Xianxia flew forward and quickly vanished into the thick ice mist. Ice Phoenix Sacred Hall. Standing at the edge of the pond, Mu Xuanian stared at the snow lotus at the center. Its petals were all gone. The only thing that was still flowing with life was its translucent, glowing stem. It'll bloom again in 9,000 years. Mu Bingyan walked next to Mu Xuanian with silent footsteps. Mu Xuanian didn't say anything. Mu Bingyan said softly after casting a glance at Mu Xuanian, "Are you feeling better?" Mu Bingyan's eyes turned slightly. "You wish to take him away from that place?" Mu Bingyan sighed quietly. "It's been a full day and night. You know better than anyone what level he is right now. It's simply impossible for him to survive 3 full days. If we don't rescue him now, we may not even get a chance to regret the decision later." "HMPH?" Mu Xuanian's voice was cold. "You treat him so well, sister." Mu Bingyan gently shook her head. "I just don't want you to feel regret over this. He won't die this easily. Xianxia said coldly. "And so what if he dies? It is the punishment he should rightfully receive. I didn't dare ask yesterday, but what on earth did Yunqi? Do not ask or care about this matter any longer. If he manages to survive, then I guess Lady Luck is on his side, but if he dies, then so be it." Although Xianxia's aura wasn't as scary as it was yesterday, it was still icy cold and merciless. It was obvious that her anger hadn't yet completely faded, because the crime Yunqi committed was something she absolutely couldn't forgive. Xianxian turned away and left while brimming with intimidating coldness. "I will be heading to the Flame God realm in a few days to deal with that flame dragon, so I will be spending a few days in seclusion. You will stay here and guard me, and you aren't allowed to go anywhere else. Do you understand? You are especially forbidden from approaching Mist End Valley." Xianxian didn't say anything. A single sigh escaped her lips. It would appear that Yunqi's crime really was too grave this time. Plop. Yunqi fell heavily onto a thick pile of snow while panting for breath. He then shut his mouth and suppressed his panting with all his might immediately, leaving only his chest still moving up and down intensely. He was chased by the profound beasts for a full night and day, and he had ran just as long. During this time, he didn't brandish Heaven's smiting sword even once as he ran and ran, away from the beasts. The concentration of profound beasts in this place was just too high, and every one of these creatures had developed terrifyingly acute senses, thanks to the cruel environment. Not even hidden flowing lightning was able to hide him from detection. Hidden flowing lightning could only conceal his aura, but not his body, so these profound beasts that were everywhere were able to spot him using sight alone. This was especially true for the snow hawks and giant falcons flying in the air. The thick ice mist was practically non-existent to these creatures. After shaking off another wave of profound beasts with great difficulty, and after sensing about and finding no dangerous presences in the area, Yunqi lay on the snow and didn't get up for literally half a day. His entire body was limp and sore. Opportunities to pant like this only came 3 times a day, and none of them ever lasted beyond 15 minutes. A while later, Yunqi struggled to his feet. "This can't go on. There's no way I'm going to last until the 3rd day if it continues like this. No amount of profound energy recovery is going to hold up against this exhaustion rate. I may very well be completely drained tomorrow. I need to think of a different way." Yunqi thought while doing his best to recover his wounds and profound energy using the great way of the Buddha. But just as he closed his eyes, the space between his brows suddenly twitched once for no particular reason. He immediately dropped flat without a second thought. "Re-yip." The sharp sound of air being torn apart passed through the spot where Yunqi's head was just a second ago. The sharp, icy wind had cut off a large chunk of his hair. Yunqi rolled away from the place with sinking eyes. He stared fixedly at the white figure landing some distance away from him. It was none other than the white wolf he saw when he first came into Mist End Valley. This white wolf had hidden itself inside snow just like he did, and he had failed to detect his pounce until the final moment. It was obvious that this terrifying white wolf normally hunted this way. His rare moment to catch a breath was extinguished by the white wolf just like that. Yunqi swiftly scanned the surroundings with his spiritual perception before deciding not to escape in an instant. He would kill this white wolf while generating as little noise as possible. Yunqi moved his right hand to his chest and gripped the cloud butterfly blade. The white wolf's eyes turned bloody as it opened its mouth and let out an extremely low growl. It was obvious that the wolf didn't want to cause too much noise either. Great wariness had settled into its bloody pupils after it missed its sure hit attack. The standstill lasted for several seconds before it suddenly leaped towards Yunqi like lightning and aimed its sharp claws straight at his heart. Agitated and at max concentration, Yunqi could see the trajectory of the white wolf's pounce clearly. The instant the white wolf got close to him, his eyes turned cold as he swiped the cloud butterfly blade accurately through its neck. Yunqi appeared 30 meters away from where he had stood before he turned around as quick as lightning. He was just about to commit the follow-up attack when he suddenly looked flabbergasted. The white wolf crashed into a giant ice-covered rock far away from him in a straight line. The wolf's head separated from its body instantly and lay still on the ground. Yunqi's mouth was slightly agape. He stayed that way for several seconds before he finally, slowly, looked down at the cloud butterfly blade in disbelief. After being hunted for an entire day and night, Yunqi had less than 40% profound energy left inside his tired body. Although he was sure that his blade had passed through the white wolf's neck, It should have left behind a moderate wound at best. He never imagined that he would be able to cut off its head entirely. Considering the white wolf's incredibly oppressive aura, it was very likely to be a low-level divine soul realm beast. With his current amount of profound energy, he would be lucky to cut through its flesh, but this. Even more amazing was the fact that he felt nothing, even after he cut through its entire neck. Xianxia stepped forwards quickly and froze the white wolf's head and body with profound energy, stopping the stench of blood from spreading. Then, he stared fixedly at the cloud butterfly blade for a very long time. He exhaled a bit of profound energy, and an invisible, half-foot-long blade beam immediately extended from the hilt of the blade. He then moved the blade beam slowly towards a finger, and discovered that his skin was hurting like it was burned, even though the beam was still inches away from it. "I can't believe Palace Master Yan gave me something so terrifying," Xianxia muttered. Despite his low, profound strength, he was able to cut through the body of a low-level divine soul realm beast with unbelievable ease. If this was a divine soul realm profound practitioner, if he could find the opportunity to do so, then maybe he could kill even a late-stage divine soul realm expert. Xianxia suddenly recalled Mu Bingyan saying that this blade was one of the 2 weapons that was passed down within her family. Both she and Mu Xuanian wielded a blade each, and the other blade was called the Sound Butterfly Blade. Considering Mu Xuanian and Mu Bingyan's status in the Snow Song realm, this blade might very well be the ultimate treasure in the entire realm, so of course it was deadly. Naturally, a profound weapon made in the God realm, and a high-rank one no less, far outstripped anything that might exist in the blue pole star. Having witnessed the cloud butterfly blade's terrifying power, Xianxia felt a bit more comfortable than he was a few moments ago. He hid his aura once more and leaned against the corner of a giant rock. He cast a glance at the white wolf's dead body and frowned slightly. His hidden flowing lightning was an extremely high-level profound concealment art already, but even if he pushed it to the max, there was no way he could hide his aura so completely that it might as well not exist. However, these white wolves were able to conceal themselves in snow less than 30 feet away from him. Although he was paying close attention to his surroundings using his spiritual senses, he wasn't able to detect it at all until the moment it jumped out. Just how did they conceal their presence so perfectly? It was almost as if their aura had merged with the snow while they were hiding inside. Merge, aura. Xianxia suddenly looked up in great agitation. A strange inspiration had just flashed through his mind. Temporary confusion appeared inside his eyes. He wanted to concentrate his thoughts immediately and seize this instant of inspiration. But he also realized that he might never awaken again if his consciousness fell still in this terrifying valley. But if he didn't try it, then the inspiration might pass him by forever. A brief moment of mental struggle later, he ultimately made the risky choice and closed his eyes swiftly. Slowly, his breathing and aura grew stable as his consciousness sank and sank until he seemed to have forgotten even where he was right now. High above the sky, a pair of frigid eyes penetrated many layers of thick mist to stare coldly at Xianxia. She noticed that Xianxia had suddenly fallen silent. Very soon his aura became gentle and his soul fell into a state of quietness. The boy had actually entered into a state of enlightenment. Her eyebrows were raised as she exclaimed a little angrily, "This brat! How dare he submerge his consciousness in such a place? Is he hoping to die faster?" Although she was furious, she didn't leave the valley. She cast a glance at the cloud butterfly blade between Xianxia's fingers and said coldly, "I can't believe Bingyan actually gave him the cloud butterfly blade. How absurd." Xianxia had entered an unbelievably wondrous state. He had no idea that someone was looking at him quietly. In fact, he couldn't even sense the flow of time, so it was only natural that he didn't notice a giant ice-scaled beast approaching closer towards him. Attention drawn by the approaching beast, Mu Xuanian's fingertip lit up with faint bluish light. However, it was at this moment she noticed that Xianxia's body had blurred for a second. Then he started fading away like a shadow. In the end, he vanished completely without a trace. Great shock riddled Mu Xuanian's face. Although she could still sense Xianxia through her spirit senses, her disciple hadn't moved an inch from the spot. His figure had turned completely invisible. The giant ice-scaled beast walked close to Xianxia and passed by him in leisurely fashion just 30 meters away. It never paused once or cast a glance to where Xianxia was. Very soon it walked off in a different direction and vanished into the mist. "Concealment," Mu Xuanian said softly. For the first time in a few thousand years, her eyes were riddled with deep shock and absent-mindedness. Cascade's legendary great perfection, the realm of concealment. The reason why it was only a legend was because even though it was in written records and the profound art itself, no one had ever seen it before. Even Mu Xuanian, who had been cultivating moon-splitting Cascade, had never reached the realm of concealment. Moon-splitting Cascade had been left behind by the ancient Ice Phoenix and was much more difficult to comprehend and cultivate than the Ice Phoenix god investiture canon. In all of Snow Song Realm's history, very few were able to cultivate it, and none were able to cultivate it to the great perfection realm. At one time, Mu Xuanian had even thought that the legendary realm of concealment was unobtainable with a mortal body. But at this moment, she clearly saw Yun Qi's figure vanish without a trace, before her own eyes. Even the aura that still existed in place had become incredibly faint. At the very least, those ice killins that passed by him did not detect his aura at all. From the time she had taught Yun Qi moon-splitting Cascade, only a short 3 months had passed. The concealment realm in 3 months, she softly muttered to herself, her pupils billowing with an unsuppressible complexity. No matter how much of a genius he is, his comprehension shouldn't reach such a terrifying level. How exactly? The world became peaceful once more. After a long time, Yun Qi's figure slowly appeared at the corner of an ice stone and changed from blurry to clear in an instant. After that, he slowly opened his eyes and stood up, his face full of disbelief as he looked at his own body. "This is moon-splitting Cascade's highest realm that Master has mentioned before," Yun Qi muttered to himself. Even he himself found it hard to believe, but what he felt more was an uncontrollable excitement. So it really is able to completely conceal one's figure. As he talked to himself, Yun Qi concentrated once more. Ice Phoenix power circulated, and his existence quickly fused with the surrounding elements, his figure gradually becoming blurry again. 4 short breaths later, he had already disappeared completely. His vanishing this time was distinctly faster than previously. Yun Qi lifted his hand. Following this simple action, the concealed state immediately dispersed. He tightly clenched both hands and said somewhat excitedly, "I am only at its doorstep right now, so concealment's strong point definitely is far beyond this. If I can familiarize myself with this, I should be able to completely hide myself in 1 or 2 breaths. In fact, I might even be able to slowly move while invisible." Mu Xuanian, who was high above the skies, clearly heard what Yun Qi had said. Due to his excitement, Yun Qi no longer cared about the scariness of Mist End Valley. He closed his eyes again, and his body became blurry once more, disappearing, then reappearing. The principle behind concealment was precisely blending one's own aura with the surrounding environment. It consumed very little profound strength, yet it exhausted quite a bit of mental strength. Furthermore, under the concealment state, if he were to use the slightest amount of profound energy, or if he was hit by someone else's profound energy, the perfect fusion would be disrupted, and his state of concealment would naturally disappear instantly. Although the mental burden was large, profound strength couldn't be released outward, and one mustn't be disturbed by another's profound energy. Just the fact that it could cause one's body to fade to become invisible was definitely enough to make it a heaven-defying skill that could shake the entire god realm. The concealed state's concealment was not only the cloaking of one's figure either. Even one's aura was substantially hidden to a large degree. It was not inferior to hidden flowing lightning. Even though he couldn't release profound strength outwards in the concealed state, if he used hidden flowing lightning which restrained his aura. A thought flashed in his mind, and Yun Qi quickly entered the concealed state again. Then he carefully used hidden flowing lightning. In the skies above, Mu Xuanian's eyes fiercely moved. This was because not only had Yun Qi's figure disappeared, even his aura had suddenly vanished from her spirit sense. Only after focusing her mind did Mu Xuanian detect his existence at the place his aura had disappeared from. His aura this time was now several times more faint than it was in his normal concealed state. Shock surfaced yet again on Mu Xuanian's snowy face that had calmed down just a moment ago. Though they were separated by some distance, with the level of profound strength Mu Xuanian possessed, Yun Qi was actually able to briefly escape her spirit sense. Divine Origin Realm, hiding from a spirit sense in the Divine Master Realm. Although it was only a brief moment, and at some distance, this was absolutely not something anyone would believe. Whoosh, Yun Qi appeared yet again with a satisfied smile on his face. He had just used hidden flowing lightning in the concealed state, further restraining his concealed aura. Once he succeeded, he felt as though he had completely disappeared from the world, and the concealed state had not dispersed either. "Good!" Xianxia lowly shouted in excitement. Moon-splitting cascades concealment with the addition of hidden flowing lightning could doubly conceal his aura. If he was able to master it with proficiency, he would undoubtedly gain another extremely powerful protective charm. At present, if he was able to preserve this state in which he concealed both his figure and aura, it would be difficult for the profound beasts here to discover his existence. This also implied that him having to pass 3 days in here changed from being difficult beyond compared to being as easy as pie. The prerequisite to that being him having a good command over the concealed state. Concealment was a heaven-defying skill, strong to the point where Huo Rulie, who had spent 10,000 years cultivating moon-splitting cascade, had still yet to comprehend it. Quickly being able to master something right after the initial comprehension was impossible for an ordinary person. But to Xianxia, who had glimpsed the start of the path to concealment, it didn't seem all too hard. This was because he possessed the evil god's profound veins. His interaction with the elements was strong to the point where he was able to ignore any conventional laws, and the great way of the Buddha also allowed him to control the energy of heaven and earth as he pleased. These 2 points were the key factors to reaching concealment, and were the hardest things to overcome for normal profound practitioners. To Xianxia, however, he could do all that in passing. This added to his comprehensive ability, which bypassed all common sense. It really didn't seem all that hard. Xianxia stayed in place, steadied his breathing, and began to practice concealment. To others, making the slightest progress in this extremely high-level state of law required long years of deep thought and cultivation. So long that making an inch of progress in several thousand years was no strange matter. But for Xianxia, after using it tens of times, the rate in which he became invisible had shortened by half. In the end, he only used 2 breaths to become illusory from a solid state before disappearing. During this whole time, several profound beasts had passed by and not a single one discovered his existence. Huo Rulie was silent for a long while. She thought back to when she had first taught Xianxia moon-splitting cascade. It only took him 1 try to successfully use its earliest stage. At that time, she was greatly startled inside, but compared to what she was seeing now, what had happened back then was nothing. Sigh. It was unknown what she was sighing about, as she turned both her gaze and body to immediately disappear within the boundless horizon. With hidden flowing lightning added to the concealed state, it was as though Xianxia's entire person had disappeared into a spatial crack. Added to the fact that the place he had escaped to was extraordinarily safe as well. The frequency at which profound beasts roamed about far lower than any other region. Xianxia stayed there for a full day without being discovered by any profound beasts. Compared to the wretched situation he faced on his first day with dangers abound, the second day was an incomparably pleasant breeze. It was also in this one day that the concealment Xianxia had just comprehended progressed greatly. At the very end, he no longer needed to fully concentrate to maintain it. He was now able to use 30% of his consciousness elsewhere, as 70% focused on maintaining that state. Along with the advancement of his skill, the amount of mental power used also lessened by a substantial amount. This wide world truly is full of extraordinary things for such a magical technique to exist. It seems that the previously incomprehensible principles behind the star concealing grass ought to be the same. If that's the case, as long as I don't accidentally get exposed, even those in the divine tribulation realm would find it hard to discover me outside 30 meters of range. Xianxia thought to himself. Faced with the desolate sound of the wind, Xianxia no longer felt nervous and cold like he had at the beginning, but he still didn't dare to rashly leave his current area. This was because if he moved in the slightest while invisible, he would instantly appear. Although he felt like there ought to be a way for him to move under the concealed state, he wasn't able to do it now as he only had a blurry conception of it. After a long period of hesitation, Xianxia still decided to not take the risk and continued to diligently stay in place. As long as he was able to last through today, Huo Rulie wouldn't kill him. Accidentally comprehending the realm of concealment allowed him to get his life back. There are very few profound beast footprints in this area, so it ought to be safer. A voice that was trying really hard to stay low suddenly came from a distance. Xianxia, who was deep in thought, quickly opened his eyes. There is no such thing as a safe place here. This was another person's voice, and this voice moved Xianxia's gaze. This voice, Mu Yizhu, he hadn't died. Moon-splitting cascade and hidden flowing lightning were both mobilized. Yun Qi's figure immediately scattered like mist and slowly disappeared in place. Soon enough, two human figures walked out of the thick mist together. Their bodies were filled with injuries, but from their auras and states, they weren't significant hindrances. Especially that person on the right, even though they were still quite a distance away, he still gave Yun Qi an extremely strong sense of oppression and danger. As for his face, it was astonishingly Mu Yizhu. He didn't know if Mu Yizhu was that lucky or just too strong. Under the onslaught of the yellow spring ashes he had been forced to use, he was certain Mu Yizhu would die under countless claws of berserk profound beasts. And yet it seemed that he sustained no injuries. "We'll die sooner or later, so it doesn't matter," Mu Yizhu said fiercely. "I only regret that I didn't get to personally kill Yun Qi." The reason why he had been exiled was because he had done too many bad things, yet he had put all his resentment on Yun Qi. Even you almost died back then, so even if Yun Qi had 10 lives, he would be dead. Although you didn't kill him personally, his death could still be considered to be caused by you. "So cheer up a little," said the other person. After hearing what he had said, a smile surfaced on Mu Yizhu's face. "Hey, you're right." The duo's footsteps were careful and slow. As they trod upon the snow, they left no traces. "Kill me." Yun Qi narrowed his eyes as he sneered inwardly. As he thought back to when he had been forced into a dead end yesterday, killing intent grew within Yun Qi's heart. He definitely wasn't Mu Yizhu's match in a direct confrontation. However, when he remembered easily snapping the body of that white wolf in the divine soul realm, a dangerous cold gleam flashed within Yun Qi's eyes. His hands were already quietly grasping the cloud butterfly blade. "Senior brother Yizhu, do we really have no choice but to die here? Or else what? Are you still dreaming of escaping this place alive?" Mu Yizhu gritted his teeth. "No, I'm just unreconciled. There must be a way. There must be a way out. Senior brother Yizhu, we've already lasted this long. There must be a way." As the two slowly drew near, they just happened to be walking toward the ice stone Yun Qi was concealing himself near. Yun Qi was standing directly in front of that ice stone and was at the center of their field of view, but the duo had yet to sense Yun Qi at all, even though they were on high alert. The ice stone and the crack in the thick tree really was an excellent hiding place. As the duo somewhat quickened their pace, the distance between them and Yun Qi got shorter and shorter. Slowly, they approached to a distance of 30 meters, 15 meters, yet they still didn't sense that there was another person currently standing at that place. With the cloud butterfly blade firmly gripped in hand, Yun Qi's pulse did not quicken due to their approach. Instead, it became even steadier. He only had one chance. The Mu Yizhu in his view came closer and closer. In the blink of an eye, he was already within 10 steps. Yun Qi's fingers tightened once more as he still forced himself to stay in place. It was right when Mu Yizhu was 7 steps away from him that his deeply concealed, profound energy instantly burst out. His body that became visible shot out like flowing light, then suddenly swept past Mu Yizhu. A rapidly moving shadow flashed past him, bringing along a slight chill. This shadow seemed to have suddenly split from the void without warning, and was so fast he didn't have time to react. This shock was by no means insignificant. The hearts of the duo came to an abrupt halt as they turned around in shock. "Who's there?" Yun Qi smoothly stopped at a distance of 30 meters and casually turned around with a strange smile at the corner of his lips. "Junior brother Yizhu, in order to repay your passionate reception, I'm here to personally send you off." "Yun Qi, you're alive." Mu Yizhu's eyes darkened, but on the inside he was shocked by Yun Qi's appearance. "Of course I'm alive. You, on the other hand, may be dead very, very soon," Yun Qi sneered. "You think the likes of you can kill me?" Hatred flashed in Mu Yizhu's eyes. "Very well. I was just regretting the fact that I wasn't able to kill you with my own hands, but to think that you would deliver yourself to me. Don't let him escape, Mu Heng. I must kill him with my own hands." Mu Yizhu was already clutching his sword when he gave the order. But the moment he unleashed his profound energy, he suddenly noticed that the scenery before his eyes was falling swiftly for some reason. Then everything turned gray-white before sinking into darkness. The Ice Phoenix disciple called Mu Heng was just about to move behind Yun Qi when he saw Mu Yizhu's head suddenly flying away from its torso. The burst of profound energy caused scarlet blood to gush out of his severed neck like a fountain and sent the head flying dozens of meters away from the torso. Finally, it fell weakly and smashed into the snow next to Mu Heng's feet. Mu Yizhu's expression was very calm because he never got the chance to show fear on his face. The only things that showed the fear and shock he was feeling during his last moments were his enlarging pupils. Ah. Mu Heng was stunned for a long time before he let out a fearful shout. He stumbled backwards in great fear and nearly fell on his butt during the process. Xianxia had hidden his body and his aura, detonated the profound energy in his Buddha heart divine veins in an instant, moved at an impossible speed, and finally cut through Mu Yizhu's neck with the cloud butterfly blade. The assassination wouldn't have been possible without any one of these elements, and he had executed them all to perfection. As a result, Xianxia, who was at the first level of the divine origin realm, was able to kill Mu Yizhu in an instant, a profound practitioner who was almost 2 realms stronger than he was. It took the cloud butterfly blade only a brief instant to pass through Mu Yizhu's neck, and the entire assassination process was so quiet that Mu Yizhu never even realized that he was killed until the final moment. In fact, he never learned how he had died at Xianxia's hands. That's the cloud butterfly blade. When Mu Heng saw the gleaming ice blade in Xianxia's hand, his pupils contracted slightly as he cried out the weapon's name. "Oh, you know it?" Xianxia withdrew the cloud butterfly blade with a bit of astonishment. Although this person was far weaker than Mu Yizhu, he was probably just a normal Ice Phoenix Palace disciple. He actually recognized the cloud butterfly blade. It would appear that the cloud butterfly blade was extremely famous in the snow song realm. No wonder senior brother Yizhu was... Plop. It was only now that Mu Yizhu's headless body finally collapsed to the ground, spraying the floor with a shocking amount of blood. Judging from the sprayed blood, there was probably nothing left inside the body. "So, do you want to leave or do you want to be buried along with your senior brother?" Xianxia asked coldly. There was no reason to believe that a person who was exiled to this place was a good egg, but at the same time they shared no relations or grudges with each other. In a place like Mist End Valley, it was better to avoid unnecessary trouble. Therefore, he wouldn't waste energy trying to kill this guy if he did choose to leave. Mu Heng's took a few steps backwards, but he quickly came to a stop once more. The initial fear and shock on his face were actually giving way to fierce ruthlessness. "You only killed Mu Yizhu because you ambushed him using the cloud butterfly blade. Do you really think a mere divine origin realm profound practitioner like you has the right to boast of his strength before me?" Xianxia's eyes narrowed. "So you choose to die, is that it?" "Me. The one who will die is you." Mu Heng's face turned slightly distorted. "I'm going to die sooner or later anyway in this place. If I can drag you, the Sect Master's direct disciple, into death with me, then my death will be totally worth it." "Amen." Xianxia nodded in agreement. "It is a pretty good idea." If he was still an Ice Phoenix Palace disciple, he wouldn't dare show Xianxia even a bit of disrespect, even if he had all the courage in the world. But he was a fugitive in Mist End Valley, so Xianxia's identity only invoked irritation and excitement in his twisted heart. "Then die." Mu Heng swung his sword at Xianxia, causing bone-chilling air to enshroud Xianxia in an instant. He looked like he would freeze Xianxia in ice right there. Xianxia raised his arms in front of himself with the heaven-smiting sword clutched firmly in his hands. His eyes turned gloomy as he detonated his profound energy, flames, and sword force at once. Judging from the strength of Mu Heng's aura, he was probably around the 2nd or 3rd level of the divine soul realm. Although he was far weaker than Mu Yizhu, he still wasn't an easy opponent for him. Thankfully, Mu Heng's whole life in Mist End Valley was spent running just one step ahead of certain death. Not only was he hurt all over, his vitality was weak, and his profound strength was largely depleted. There was no reason for him to lose if he were to fight Mu Heng with full force. Xianxia braved the cold wind and leaped into the air, instantly arriving in front of Mu Heng. His sword fell on Mu Heng's head, as though it would flatten him like a pie. Xianxia's speed immensely shocked Mu Heng, but he raised his own sword immediately afterwards, his profound energy surging. He had complete confidence that his slash would deal Xianxia a grievous blow. Clang! A heavy sound resounded as Xianxia was knocked far, far away from the point of impact. However, Mu Heng's sword was the one that broke as his hands turned numb and his feet sank deeply into the ground. "Ah!" Mu Heng's pupils contracted abruptly as fear and shock appeared on his face. How is this possible?" Before him, an oppressive feeling that shouldn't belong to one at the divine origin realm rushed towards him. Xianxia actually recovered with a roll through the air and swung his sword once more down toward his head. The flames enveloping the sword were actually stronger than during the first clash and threatened to suffocate Mu Heng. Mu Heng clenched his teeth and threw away the broken sword he was wielding. Not daring to conserve his strength any longer, his entire body glowed icily as he roared and sent 13 icicles stabbing into the air from the ground. The 13 icicles had appeared swiftly and unexpectedly, so Yun Qi's falling figure was instantly stabbed by 2 of the 13 icicles at the same time. Mu Heng was just about to let loose a peal of mad laughter when he suddenly realized that the pierced Yun Qi was dissipating swiftly into a cloud of thin ice mist. Behind Mu Heng, a calamitous, burning power rushed ruthlessly towards his back. The only thing that he could do was to scream in terror before he was struck mercilessly by the attack. Boom! The snapping sound of Mu Heng's spine was so crisp that it was almost piercing to one's ears. Mu Heng flew far, far away into the distance like a broken bag of blood before he crashed painfully into the frozen rock Yun Qi was hiding inside earlier. It was impossible for Mu Heng to stand up again after his spine was snapped in half. He wriggled painfully on the ground while continuously vomiting scarlet blood from his mouth. "All bark and no bite, you are," Yun Qi taunted just before a dangerous, bestial roar followed his words. A dangerous aura swiftly approached towards Mu Heng. It was only natural that the commotion had drawn the profound beast's attention. Putting away his sword swiftly, Yun Qi withdrew his aura and escaped leisurely from the place, not bothering to spare Mu Heng even a second glance. After he moved a few hundred meters away from the place, he jumped soundlessly into the air and landed on top of a tall, dry tree. His figure slowly vanished after that. It didn't take long before the low growls of a profound beast and Mu Heng's blood-curdling screams of despair cut through the air. Nearing the end of the 3rd day since Yun Qi was sent into Mist End Valley, there were less than 30 minutes left before the 72-hour time limit was up. When the time was up, the dimensional profound formation Mu Xuanian left on Yun Qi's body would teleport him away from Mist End Valley. A cloud of thick mist scattered as Mu Xuanian soundlessly appeared above Mist End Valley once more. She quickly spotted Yun Qi after she spread her consciousness across the land. Then, her eyebrows became wrinkled a little. Yun Qi hadn't hidden in the same spot and waited for the 3rd day to pass. Right now, he was almost 50 kilometers away from his previous spot. She could sense where Yun Qi was but not see his person, so it was obvious that Yun Qi was currently in that amazing state of concealment. However, that wasn't why Mu Xuanian was surprised. Mu Xuanian was surprised because Yun Qi was obviously moving slowly across the ground. He was able to move despite being in the concealed state. The tiny ripple of emotion in Mu Xuanian's eyes lasted for a long time before it subsided. Meanwhile, Yun Qi was walking slowly across Mist End Valley while being invisible. He couldn't speed up even if he wanted to anyway. After a whole day and night of meditation, enlightenment, and experimentation, he was now able to maintain a perfect state of concealment while walking slowly and not making any big movements. Although he had used it for less than a day only, it was without a doubt a large improvement compared to the time when he wasn't able to move at all. Now that he was able to move while being invisible, naturally Yun Qi didn't need to hide in the same place any longer. Instead, he started roaming around Mist End Valley and enjoying its unique scenery. Yes, he was enjoying the scenery of Mist End Valley. Of course, he was cautious even though he was invisible, and he would do his best to walk out of a profound beast's way should he notice them. While it was true that the profound beasts couldn't see him, they could unwittingly send a wave of profound energy in his direction and reveal him instantly. Mu Xuanian watched as Yun Qi strolled through layer upon layer of thick mists and past many violent, profound beasts. He made it look so simple it was as if he was the only thing to exist in Mist End Valley. His temporary exile was supposed to be a severe punishment and test of his abilities, but right now he looked like he was on a vacation or something. It was just like the time he traveled to the Ice-Wind Empire alone 3 months ago. At this rate, Mu Xuanian doubted that Yun Qi could get into trouble even if he tried. But just when Mu Xuanian withdrew her gaze and got ready to leave, her eyes suddenly caught a glimpse of something. She said softly to herself, "The feathered ice spirit flower?" Yun Qi's footsteps had paused because an extremely dangerous aura was brimming ahead of him. Moreover, it was the most dangerous aura he had ever sensed since he entered Mist End Valley. When he came close to this intimidating aura, he could clearly sense some of the hair on the back of his neck standing on end. His gaze penetrated the thick mist, and very soon he saw a huge white figure. This white figure was 30 meters tall, and it had the outline of a giant ape. It was completely white in color, but the color wasn't like the snow-white color of thick hair. Instead, it was an icy white color that gleamed intimidatingly even through the thick mist. The ape wasn't covered in hair, but a layer of thick ice armor. Xianxia only needed to look at the light reflecting off its armor to guess just how tough it must be. Worse, this giant ice-armored ape wasn't weaker than Mu Hanni at all. This also meant that its strength was the equivalent a human cultivator in the middle stage of the divine tribulation realm, or the late stage even. Xianxia stopped his breathing and slowed down his footsteps, backing away from the ape little by little. Although the giant ice-armored ape seemed to be deeply asleep, and he was currently invisible and undetectable by aura, he still acted with extreme caution. After all, the consequences of being discovered were unimaginable. He could barely escape from the peak divine soul realm Mu Yizhu. But the same absolutely couldn't be said for this divine tribulation realm profound beast. Even the chance of escaping was minuscule. No wonder this particular area was so quiet and devoid of profound beasts. It was the territory of a divine tribulation realm beast. Naturally, there were no profound beasts that dared to approach it. Just when he was about to turn away and leave, a strange, white gleam suddenly caught his full attention. Less than 10 meters away from the giant ice-armored ape, a beautiful white flower lay quietly in full bloom. It was completely icy white in color, and the single flower above the stem looked so pure it was almost unreal. Its feather-like petals swayed to the wind. A strange spirit energy filled the surrounding space, and it was clear and rich despite the giant ice-armored ape's terrifying aura. It was only then that Xianxia realized that the spirit energy had come from this strange flower. It was only natural for a flower in Mist End Valley to be icy and cold. But not only did this flower's spirit energy not make him feel cold at all, it even warmed his heart for a very, very long time. Xianxia stared fixedly at this strange white flower, so much so that he even forgot to move away from the giant ape. He had seen countless strange flowers and herbs in his life, but there were very few that could strike a deep chord in his heart. Chi didn't continue to retreat any further. He looked fixedly at the feathered ice spirit flower for a long while, and then actually began to slowly walk forward. He approached the extremely dangerous giant ice-armored ape step by step, but his eyes were still looking in the direction of the feathered ice spirit flower. Mu Xuanian clearly understood his intention when she saw him act in such a manner. She felt angry in her heart. "You scoundrel! You're risking your life for a moment of greed. This brat never learns his lesson. Especially, why is he behaving like this for a mere feathered ice spirit flower? In the heavenly Netherfrost Lake, you can easily find a variant flower which would be far better than that one." Xianxia gradually drew closer, making his way ahead at an extreme slow pace. The aura emanating from the giant ape grew increasingly fearsome as he got closer and closer to it. Although he was taking a great risk by doing so, Xianxia was still quite confident in achieving his goal. Using moon-splitting cascade to conceal his figure, along with hidden flowing lightning which concealed his aura, he was confident that unless the giant ape released his spirit sense and proactively looked around vigilantly, it'd be very difficult for it to discover his existence, even if he was only around 30 meters away from it. Furthermore, it was currently in slumber. Amidst the ice-cold silence, Xianxia continued to walk forward while maintaining his extremely slow pace and quietly arrived before the feathered ice spirit flower. He didn't experience any surprises or danger on his way to the flower. Xianxia was only 10 meters away from the giant ice-armored ape at present. He could faintly sense it letting out a heavy breath in its sleep. But there was no unusual change in the giant ice-armored ape's aura. It was evident that it hadn't sensed his presence. Xianxia was even more surprised when he looked at the feathered ice spirit flower from up close. It was only the size of an adult's palm, and its 7 petals looked like tail feathers. Each petal was disseminating a distinct aura, as if all of them were independent life forms. The flower was emitting a cold, white light, giving it a particularly magnificent and beautiful appearance. However, when Xianxia slowly brought his palm closer to it, he didn't feel the chilliness characteristic to the ice attribute flowers. Instead, he felt a warm and comfortable feeling that made people feel at ease. "All right." Xianxia lightly touched the feathered ice spirit flower with utmost carefulness. The sky poison pearl glowed with a faint light, after which the flower was plucked off the stem. Watching the whole process from high above in the sky, Mu Xuanian frowned slightly. "Let me teach you a lesson." One should risk their life when it was required to accomplish their objective, but it was certainly a great taboo to do so just to satisfy your greed for an unnecessary thing. What made her especially angry was that even though he knew that the heavenly Netherfrost Lake had countless spirit flowers and all kinds of herbs, he still took the risk of getting closer to a profound beast in the divine tribulation realm in order to obtain a mere feathered ice spirit flower. His action was totally ridiculous. She lightly pointed her finger. A blue light burst out at once, with a tip as sharp-looking as a needle. Xianxia deeply glanced at the feathered ice spirit flower while holding it between his palms. Just when he was going to place it inside the sky poison pearl, an abrupt change happened in his surroundings. A sense of fatal danger immediately pricked at the nerves throughout his body. Roar! The calm airflow in the place grew intensely agitated like a tsunami. The giant ice-armored ape got up and let out a sky-shaking bellow. Xianxia, who was only 10 meters away, nearly vomited blood due to the shockwaves generated by it. As the giant ape crazily unleashed its power, the ice and snow in the surroundings burst apart because of the impact. Xianxia's figure was also exposed in no time, and the eyes of the giant ice-armored ape, that were releasing the light of madness and wrath, clearly caught sight of the feathered ice spirit flower in his hand. Xianxia paled in fright. He quickly stored the flower in the sky poison pearl before dashing away like a thunderbolt. No matter what creature, all of them would need some time to fully sober up after awakening from their sleep. Therefore, even though the giant ice-armored ape woke up the moment he plucked off the feathered ice spirit flower, he was confident in safely leaving the place. But the giant ice-armored ape seemed so violent, as if it had been firmly stabbed with a knife. It was in deep slumber just a moment ago, releasing an incomparably calm aura. And now it appeared to have gone completely berserk right after awakening from its sleep. Damn it! Xianxia gnashed his teeth. How did things turn out this way? Could it also be a characteristic of the violent, profound beasts living in Mist End Valley? It was naturally no coincidence that the giant ice-armored ape was sleeping in the vicinity of the feathered ice spirit flower. It chose the location because the aura of the flower had an extremely strong attraction power to it. Even if it wasn't awakened in such a startling way, it'd have soon woken up on its own due to the absence of the aura from the feathered ice spirit flower, though Xianxia would have safely left by that time. But now, not only was it awakened in such a crude and startling manner, it also saw the feathered ice spirit flower falling into Xianxia's hands. As such, its initial berserk aura immediately became even more turbulent, like a volcano erupting 2 times in a row. The giant ape leapt high into the air as it pounced towards Xianxia and firmly smashed down his huge fist in burning rage. Boom! As though the air had been shaken by a sudden clap of thunder, the entire area several kilometers ahead was enshrouded by the terrifying might of the fist attack launched by the giant ice-armored ape. All the ice stones, huge trees, and glaciers broke and were destroyed in an instant, causing the layer of snow to cave in at an astonishing speed. Sensing a fatal, oppressive feeling from behind, Xianxia, who had no means to evade the attack, immediately activated Rumbling Heaven and unleashed Sealing Cloud-Locking Sun with all his might. Boom! As though he had been struck by a heavy hammer, Xianxia suffered a hard fall, which again produced a very loud sound in the surroundings. A huge pit, with a depth of tens of meters, appeared around the place he had fallen. SSS! Xianxia quickly got to his feet inside the huge pit. His whole body was feeling intense pain as well as numbness. The moment he got up, blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth, his nostrils, and ears. If not for the fact that he had immediately activated Rumbling Heaven and opened the evil god barrier, he would be as good as dead, even if he survived the attack. That was the might of a being in the divine tribulation realm. Although he somehow resisted the attack, it didn't mean that he was out of danger. On the contrary, he didn't even have the time to pant. Before he could calm down his agitated, profound energy, he found himself enveloped in a scarlet, eye-piercing light that was being released by the other party's eyes. The thick and heavy arm of the giant ice-armored ape again moved down to attack from above his head, bringing along the might of death and instantly shrouded his field of vision. Xianxia instantaneously moved at an extremely fast speed before opening the evil god barrier once more with all he had. Boom! The ground split apart and sank down, and even all the small mountains several kilometers away crumbled and collapsed. As if he had been struck by a heavy hammer again, Xianxia was sent flying high into the sky. Despite the fact that he was only hit by the remnant shockwaves of the attack, the evil god barrier shattered into pieces after persevering for a brief while. However, he did succeed in barely escaping the great danger due to its help. Xianxia's aura and blood were thrown into disorder, and he had to give his all just to steady his posture in the air. He spit out a mouthful of blood and gnashed his teeth so hard that they almost broke apart. Running away won't work. It's basically impossible to flee from that profound beast. If I were to get hit by his attack once more, I'd be in danger for real. He had almost reached his limit by using all of his strength to execute sealing cloud locking sun 2 times in succession within the rumbling heaven state. If he wanted to get out of here alive, there was only one method left at his disposal: to kill the giant ice-armored ape. While he was thinking of the means to deal with his current predicament, the blood-red light emitting from the eyes of the giant ice-armored ape had enveloped him again. It had locked onto Xianxia's aura, effectively rendering him unable to evade its attack. The giant ape whirled its arm, preparing to shroud the surroundings with the might of the divine tribulation realm. A gloomy expression appeared in Xianxia's eyes, but he didn't show any evasive intentions. Instead, he took the initiative to charge toward the giant ice-armored ape. Just when it was about to strike down with its huge arm, a blue figure flashed over his body and let out a world-shaking dragon roar. Roar! The giant ice-armored ape shook intensely under the influence of the dragon's soul domain. The berserk look in its eyes quickly turned into that of fear, and his movements also came to a halt. Not intending to hold back anything, Xianxia unleashed all his profound energy at this moment, as he directly aimed for the head of the giant ice-armored ape. He was holding the cloud butterfly blade in his right hand. As he placed his left hand on the cloud butterfly blade, a green light flashed across it. Back when he poisoned Muhani in the Ice Wind Empire, he had only used half of the horned dragon's breath, which was given to him by Muxunian. At this moment, the remaining half had been sprinkled on the cloud butterfly blade. After all, the only thing in his possession that was able to kill the giant ice-armored ape was none other than the horned dragon's breath. He had to inject the poison into the body of the giant ice-armored ape to effectively use the poison of the horned dragon's breath against the latter. But the giant ice-armored ape not only had an incomparably thick ice armor, its body was also being protected by the power of its divine tribulation realm cultivation. Even if he had the cloud butterfly blade, and was also using the rumbling heaven to its ultimate extent, he didn't have absolute confidence in breaking open the ice armor of his foe and stabbing right into its body. Since he only had one opportunity to carry out his attack, he didn't want to bet on something so uncertain. The most fragile part of a creature was its eyes, without a shadow of doubt. Confronting the giant ice-armored ape, which was temporarily in a frightened state due to the coercion of the dragon god, Xianxia's profound energy and speed rapidly increased to their limits. Moving like a shooting star, he shot a formless blade of light that was a foot long in length and pierced right through his opponent's head. R.I.P. The cloud butterfly blade firmly stabbed into the right eye of the giant ice-armored ape that was as big as the size of an adult person's head. But unexpected, the sound issuing from it getting torn was similar to a tough and tensile rock being cut apart. Rua, woo! The giant ice-armored ape suddenly raised the upper half of its body and let out a furious roar of pain. A muffled sound escaped from Xianxia's mouth as he got sent flying into the distance from the shock. The next instant, his vision turned dark all of a sudden. Amidst the pain and rage it was feeling due to the destroyed right eye, the giant ice-armored ape swung around his huge arm in a disordered manner, which just happened to hit his body. NNZZ? As he lost his consciousness in an instant, Xianxia didn't feel even the slightest pain. He could only sense his body drifting away in a blank world, like a dead leaf getting swept up in a hurricane. Oh no! Muxunian's expression changed when she saw the scene and immediately flew down in his direction. Bang! Xianxia got heavily smashed to the ground, and his body only came to a halt after digging out a gully that was several hundred meters long. His completely dulled consciousness had finally started to recover, ruthlessly exposing him to more and more intense pain that he could feel from every part of his body. During the previous 2 attacks he received, he was using the evil god barrier with all his might in the rumbling heaven state, which was his ultimate defensive state. Besides, he only had to withstand the remnant shockwaves. However, he still suffered internal injuries despite it all. This time, he didn't have the protection of the evil god barrier and was directly struck by the giant ice-armored ape. Since he could feel an intense pain, it meant that he had regained his senses. Xianxia slowly opened his eyes and faintly moved the fingers of his right hand. Then, he lifted his arm with difficulty and brought it behind him in order to grab a broken ice stones. He seemed to have the intention to get up to his feet. But upon lifting his arm to some extent, he noticed that his whole arm was dyed with fresh blood. The bones of his left arm were completely broken. He couldn't feel a thing from it. Bang! Despite exerting his all power to lift it up, the arm ended up drooping down heavily before he could succeed in lifting it to a sufficient height. There was nothing except severe pain left in his body, and it was difficult to move even a bit. Not only his left arm, he also felt that his left rib cage and breastbone were mostly broken. His internal organs had dislocated by a great margin, and there were countless cracks all over them. Ayo, Wuo. Wuwar, he could hear the deranged roars of anger and pain coming from the distance. In the midst of his blurred line of sight, he saw a huge figure crazily writhing around and struggling, while covering its right eye. Starting from the pierced right eye, a bizarre layer of crimson hue began to quickly spread across its thick ice armor. In the blink of an eye, the entire body of the giant ape got covered in the layer, after which the crimson color deepened at an extremely fast rate. Very soon, the ice-white body of the giant ape turned crimson. Its roars and struggling movements became increasingly powerless before it fell heavily on the ground, wiggling and twitching in despair. Heh! Hee. Lying paralyzed on the ground, Xianxia laughed despite being extremely injured. He had actually killed a divine tribulation realm existence once again, after having done the same to Mu Hanyi 3 months ago. Although he relied on the dragon god domain and horned dragon poison both times, it was definitely a miracle only he was capable of creating. He might be extremely injured right now, but it was only him alone who could survive after being hit by a power of the divine tribulation realm in a head-on clash. If it was any other profound practitioner, including the ones at the divine soul realm, they would have instantly been smashed to a pulp. Let alone being on their last breath, even their bones wouldn't be left intact. It was just that he was so heavily injured this time that his condition was somewhat miserable. He hadn't been injured to such an extent even when he had a fierce battle with Xuanyuan Wenshin in the past. Although the giant ice-armored ape had died, the danger was far from over. He was still in Mist End Valley, after all. A brutal, profound beast could appear before him at any instant. Forget about hiding himself, he was unable to stand up at present. Even a Winterfrost direwolf, the weakest profound beast in the valley, could easily put him to death. It was at this time that a profound light started to glimmer around his chest all of a sudden. The profound light swiftly activated a small-sized profound formation, which released enough rays of light to cover his entire body within them. Soon after, he instantly disappeared from the place. At this moment, exactly 72 hours had passed since he entered Mist End Valley. Hence, the spatial profound formation which Mu Xuanian had left on him was triggered because the condition had been met. And thus, the severe punishment given to him by Mu Xuanian had finally come to an end. He truly is a lucky fellow, Mu Xuanian mumbled as she stood high in the sky, far off from Xianxia's location. Afterwards, she turned around and vanished without making a sound. The scenery around him immediately switched over. The pale white sky of the Ice Phoenix realm appeared in his line of sight, and he could sense the distinct aura of the sacred hall in the surroundings. Xianxia let out a long sigh of relief as he stood amidst the snow-covered land. As his mind felt relaxed, the extremely severe injuries on his body caused his consciousness to grow increasingly fuzzy. The aura emanating from him was horribly weak at this time. While he was in a daze, he saw Mu Xuanian coming over to his side and look at him with a chilly expression in her eyes. Ma's tur. Xianxia opened his mouth to speak, but could only utter so much in a pained and unclear voice. HMPH, it's surprising that you could come out of Mist End Valley alive. You're one lucky guy. Even though Xianxia's whole body was dyed in blood and he seemed to be close to his death, there was still no emotion in her eyes and they were as chilly as ever. Xianxia slightly moved his lips but failed to say anything in response. He slightly moved his right arm before lifting it up bit by bit in a very slow motion. His arm was trembling intensely, making it evident that not only it was incomparably difficult to lift the arm, but it was also hurting a lot. There was a bizarre flower in full bloom at the center of his palm, with petals similar to flawless tail feathers. It was the feathered ice spirit flower he had nearly lost his life for. Mu Xuanian, disciple, obtained this flower in Mist End Valley to present it to Master. Mu Xuanian didn't receive it or show any other response to him. His palm carrying the feathered ice spirit flower trembled more and more intensely, and Yun Qi started losing consciousness at a fast rate. Disciple is aware that he has committed a great sin and would not ask Master for forgiveness. Disciple just does not want Master to experience a negative emotion such as anger because of the unpardonable deed done by this disciple. The flower in this disciple's hand is quite similar to the image of Master in this disciple's heart. Very beautiful, very cold, and yet, actually, Yun Qi passed out in the end. As he fainted, the palm holding the feathered ice spirit flower also drooped down powerlessly. Mu Xuanian made her move as fast as lightning. A graceful, profound aura lifted held up the falling feathered ice spirit flower in the air, before slowly bringing it to the center of her opened palm. The world suddenly turned quiet and remained so for a long while. "Forget it. I'll forgive you for now." The feathered ice spirit flower in her palm disappeared silently. Then she turned around and muttered to herself in a very casual manner, with no signs of the might or intimidation that she had displayed just a moment ago. Yun Qi awakened after an unknown period of time. He had regained his consciousness, and his whole body was still hurting a lot, but the pain wasn't as severe as before. Besides the pain, he could feel an even stronger, refreshing, and comfortable feeling, as though he was bathing in a lukewarm and gentle breeze. Upon opening his eyes, Yun Qi discovered that his body was soaking in the heavenly netherfrost lake. There were ice spirits dancing around him with swift motions, but the area of the heavenly netherfrost lake was as quiet as usual, with no one else present besides him. The barrier around the lake was also in a closed state at the moment. He felt multiple currents of high-level foreign spirit energy in his body. Not only were they of a high level, they had also turned into liquid and were currently helping his injuries to get better. His extremely strong recovery ability was complementing the healing process. As such, even though he was still severely injured like before, his injuries had healed by nearly 30%. Following the recovery of his consciousness and profound strength, his injuries had begun to heal at an increasingly faster rate. It could only have been Mu Xuanian who had liquefied the spiritual herbs for him and placed him inside the heavenly netherfrost lake. Phew, looks like Master isn't that angry now. Yun Qi let out a long breath of relief. His entire body felt so relaxed that he didn't even mind the pain. Of course, he had no idea that Mu Xuanian was the reason behind the misfortune he had suffered, because she had wanted to teach him a lesson. Now that his heart was at ease, Yun Qi closed his eyes to concentrate on recovering from his injuries. As he used the great way of the Buddha, the spirit energy of the heavenly netherfrost lake began to gush into his body at a speed several times greater than before. Most of his profound strength had recovered in the short period of a few hours, and at least 60% of his internal injuries had healed. Although his body was still in a weakened state, he barely felt any pain at this moment. Suddenly, he felt an unusual change in his profound meridians. A four-colored nebula of profound energy had begun to rotate on its own, and its speed of rotation was becoming faster and faster. The profound aura in his entire body had also started to rapidly flow back to his profound meridians. I'm about to break through. His first breakthrough after entering the divine way only took 3.5 months. It was especially surprising because during this period, he had spent all his time practicing moon-splitting cascade, the Ice Phoenix God investiture canon, and the Golden Crow's record of the burning world. He had hardly put any effort into cultivating his profound strength. He increased the accumulation of his profound strength solely by relying on absorbing the spirit energy of the heavenly netherfrost lake. But it only took him 3.5 months to cross the first small realm of the divine way. Yun Qi concentrated his mind and focused on the process taking place inside his body. He had begun to make preparations to welcome his first breakthrough in the divine way. Outside the Ice Phoenix realm, a huge crimson boat with long and wide wings on the sides gradually came to a halt. There was no doubt that its existence was extremely conspicuous in the cold and white world of snow. In front of the sacred hall, Mu Bingyun's figure appeared amidst a flash of cold rays of light. Then, she gracefully entered inside with light steps and caught sight of Mu Xuanian's back. It might have been a coincidence, but Mu Xuanian was standing right at the side of the pond where Buddha Heart Lotus of 9 Resurrections used to bloom before, a sight she had seen several times in the past. Has the profound arc from the flame god realm arrived? Mu Xuanian asked in a cold tone. It's Yan Wangkang and Yan Juhai. Mu Bingyun came to Mu Xuanian's side. "Elder sister, are you prepared to leave with them for the flame god realm?" In the midst of her words, her gaze fell on a beautiful and flawless white flower at the center of the pond, where the Buddha heart lotus of 9 resurrections was being raised earlier. Its petals seemed like the feathers of a goose and was releasing a particularly warm spirit aura. "Feathered ice spirit flower?" Mu Bingyun was taken aback and looked at Mu Xuanian with a deep, doubtful expression in her eyes. Mu Xuanian had especially set up this pond 9,000 years ago for raising the Buddha heart lotus of 9 resurrections. The water from the heavenly lake was used to fill up the pond, and 3 drops of Ice Phoenix origin blood were also added into it. Furthermore, the Ice Phoenix spirit energy would be poured into it at regular intervals, and its location was right at the centermost place of the sacred hall, which was in itself a core facility of the Ice Phoenix realm. In ordinary times, the pond would be guarded by a formless barrier around it. Let alone an outsider coming in contact with the pond, it was difficult for even a dust particle to get close to it. In the past 9,000 years, only the Buddha heart lotus of 9 resurrection had existed in this spirit pond. So how come there was also a feathered ice spirit flower in such a place today? If it was some high-level bizarre flower or an unusual herb, Mu Bingyun wouldn't have been too surprised. After all, the Buddha heart lotus of 9 resurrections had already lost all of its petals and didn't need too strong of a spirit energy before it bloomed once again. But even if the feathered ice spirit flower was an extremely high-level and rare spirit flower in the snow song realm, they were in no lack of it. Any one spirit flower around the heavenly Netherfrost lake would contain far more spirit energy than a feathered ice spirit flower. Besides, the feathered ice spirit flower in the pond was just a fully bloomed flower, and the rest of it was missing. So why exactly was it placed inside a spirit pond, which comprised such amazing things as the spirit aura of the heavenly Netherfrost lake and Ice Phoenix? Well, the pond was empty after all. I thought that it would be pleasing to the eye to throw in some other flower and see it grow. Mu Xuanian turned her face away. "Since the people from the flame god realm have arrived here, it means that it is almost time for that matter. It's nice that I'm not busy with anything at the moment, so I can leave today." Mu Xuanian seemed to be intentionally changing the topic. Mu Bingyu gave a deep glance at the feathered ice spirit flower once again, but didn't pursue the matter any further. She said in a worried tone, "Are you going there alone?" "No," Mu Xuanian's eyes faintly stirred. "I'm planning to take someone else along. The great elder, Yun Qi." "Yun Qi," Mu Bingyun was a bit startled. "His knowledge of the god realm is limited to the snow song realm at present. It is about time to take him to other places and have him broaden his horizons," Mu Xuanian said in an incomparably indifferent voice. "Since he is my disciple, I cannot let him stay ignorant of the world outside." A very superficial smile appeared on Mu Bingyun's face. "It seems that elder sister is no longer angry at him." Mu Xuanian snorted in disdain. "HMPH. He was lucky enough to come back alive, so I also do not feel like getting angry with a brat." Mu Bingyun moved her lips a bit to the side. "The power of flame Yun Qi possesses is even stronger than the frost. Therefore, it's certainly a very good decision to take him to the flame god realm. I'm actually more concerned about elder sister. You need to be really careful." "Rest easy," Mu Xuanian said without the slightest hint of anxiousness. "That horned dragon suffered a serious injury at its dragon fault when I attacked it last time. It is absolutely impossible for such an injury to heal in the short period of 1,000 years. Hence, there is no doubt that the threat of being significantly injured in a confrontation with it is greatly reduced. I am at least 80% sure that I'll be able to slaughter it, so long as it did not finish casting off its scales." Mu Bingyun slowly nodded her head. "Tell Huanji that he will be the person in charge of handling all the major matters of the sect in my absence. Unless some unresolvable matter comes up, he is not allowed to contact me." Having finished her words, she turned around to walk out of the hall. But just when she reached the entrance, she abruptly stopped in her tracks, as if she had recalled something. Then she flipped over her palm and sent a white streak of light towards Mu Bingyun. Mu Bingyun stretched out her hand to catch the white streak of light. It was none other than her cloud butterfly blade. "Elder sister, no need to explain anything," Mu Bingyun said in a cold tone. "It is the most important thing left behind by mother and should not be given to an outsider at any cost, no matter who it is. I will overlook it this time, but I hope that such a thing does not happen again." "Yes." Mu Bingyun put away the cloud butterfly blade with a guilty conscience. Xuanian made a sweeping gesture with her palm, causing the space ahead to crack immediately. Her figure disappeared in an instant and appeared before the heavenly Netherfrost lake. In the midst of consolidating his profound strength, Xianxia suddenly felt the barrier of the heavenly lake opening up and immediately got out of the lake. The moment he arrived at the shore of the lake, Xuanian's figure appeared in his field of vision. Xianxia was still feeling very apprehensive in his heart before Xuanian and promptly got down on one knee. Disciple pays respect to master. He used to look right at Xuanian after getting down on the knee, but this time he kept his head lowered, not daring to raise it for even a split second. He was afraid that he might end up ogling her chest in a moment of carelessness. "Follow me," Xuanian said in a cold voice. However, faint surprise surfaced in her eyes. Not only did he get all better so soon, he also achieved a breakthrough. "Ah, where are we going?" Xianxia asked subconsciously. "The flame god realm?" Before Xianxia could react, his body lightly swayed and the scenery before his eyes switched over to a completely different one. He was high in the sky of the Ice Phoenix realm. It was at this time that Xianxia suddenly remembered something. Mu Bingyan had told him before he entered Mist End Valley that people from the Flame God Realm were going to arrive in a few days. In other words, the scale-casting period of the ancient horned dragon in the God-burying Inferno prison had come. It was also known as the Slaughtering Dragon period. Unexpectedly, Xuanian wanted to take him along. Xianxia had always longed to visit the ancient God-burying Inferno prison. If he could also get at least a distant look at the legendary ancient horned dragon, that would be an even more fascinating and extremely rare experience. It was obviously a good opportunity for him. Xuanian made her way ahead at an extremely fast speed, with Xianxia following her lead. They quickly approached the crimson profound arc that had stopped outside the Ice Phoenix realm. Sneaking glances at Xuanian's back a few times, Xianxia finally asked in a feeble voice, "Master, could it be that only the two of us will be leaving for the ancient God-burying Inferno prison? Are Elder Huanji and Palace Master Bingyan not going with us?" He already knew that Mu Huanji and Mu Bingyan were the ones with the strongest profound strength in the sect, next to Xuanian. Xianxia's expression abruptly changed the instant he mentioned Mu Bingyan's name. Immediately he blurted out, "Oh no, Xuanian." "Master," Xianxia said in panic. "Disciple just recalled a matter. Palace Master Bingyan had given something to this disciple, which got lost in Mist End Valley due to the inattentiveness of this disciple. Therefore, disciple needs to at once inform Palace Master Bingyan about it. Otherwise, on that day in Mist End Valley, Xianxia had used the cloud butterfly blade, which was coated in the horned dragon poison, to successfully pierce the eye of the giant ice-armored ape. But when he was blown away by the mighty sweep of its arm, he got severely injured in no time, and the cloud butterfly blade also naturally slipped out of his hand and flew away to some unknown place. Mu Bingyan had personally told him that the cloud butterfly blade was a thing passed on by their ancestor. There was no doubt that it was extremely important. "Are you talking about the cloud butterfly blade?" Xuanian asked in a cold voice. Xianxia's mouth was wide agape. "Yes, then there is no need for that. I have given it back in your stead." A heavy gulping sound issued from Xianxia's throat. He said nervously, "Thank you very much, Master." Xuanian's beautiful eyes glanced sideways before she flipped over her palm all of a sudden. A white streak of cold light shot towards Xianxia, which he caught in his hand unconsciously. The thing in his hand was a short blade that was glittering with an ice-cold light. It had a butterfly-shaped hilt and a chilly white blade. Moreover, it gave off the impression that it could be used so swiftly that it might not even seem real, its shape, aura, and sharpness. All of them were exactly the same as the cloud butterfly blade that was given to him by Mu Bingyan. The only thing different was that the butterfly wings were facing the opposite direction. This knife is called Sound Butterfly. Since you seem to be quite adept in using such a blade, I will lend it to you for the time being." Xuanian shifted her gaze away and said in an emotionless voice, "But if you dare to lose it, I'll kill you for sure." Xianxia remained in a daze for a good while before he promptly said, "Disciple expresses his gratitude for Master's favor and will cherish it with all his heart." Xianxia carefully put away the sound butterfly blade. As he never expected such a thing to happen, his brain had stopped working momentarily. Wait a second. Why does Master know that I'm quite adept in using it? Don't tell me." Amidst the chilly wind blowing in their direction, the two of them left the sphere of the Ice Phoenix realm. They sensed an unusual burning aura coming from ahead, and soon the blazing, profound arc from the flame god realm appeared in their line of sight. The profound arc from the flame god realm had phoenix-like wings on both the sides and was thousands of kilometers long. Aside from the primordial profound arc that housed an independent world, it was the most enormous profound arc Xianxia had ever seen. As he got near to it, he sensed an extremely strong burning aura on his face. Any other disciple of the Ice Phoenix Sect would have felt some discomfort, but it was no issue for Xianxia at all. The profound arc was not only enormous, it also had a majestic aura about it. As such, it appeared like an imperial city in the sky. Sect Master of the Vermilion Bird Sect, Yan Wangkang, and Sect Master of Phoenix Sect, Yan Zhuhai, were waiting in front of the profound arc. Seeing Mu Xuanian and Xianxia flying over in their direction, they took the initiative to greet them. "We meet again, Snow Song Realm King," Yan Wangkang gave a slight bow. "We'll be completely relying on the Snow Song Realm King's power to achieve our goal this time. No need to say such superfluous words." Mu Xuanian waved them off without the slightest sign of courtesy. She directly went past the two of them and got inside the profound arc. "Take good care of this king's disciple. I don't want to be disturbed for any matter unless it is related to the ancient horned dragon, no matter how great of a trouble comes up." Mu Xuanian's figure had already disappeared into the profound arc by the time others finished listening to her words. Yan Wangkang and Yan Zhuhai didn't feel odd or any awkwardness at her attitude. Yan Wangkang turned around. "An ice room has been set up on the right side of the profound arc. If the Snow Song Realm King has any other instructions for us, please feel free to let us know." "Ah, Master." Xianxia promptly looked ahead, only to find that Mu Xuanian had vanished from his field of vision. Your esteemed master has always liked quietness. As her disciple, the person closest to her, you should be most clear about it," Yan Zhuhai said with a laugh. "Young Yun, it's really surprising to see your esteemed master have you accompany her to our destination." "No, it was expected," Yan Wangkang said as he smiled. "Given young Yun's talent in the elements, it would not have made any sense if your esteemed master didn't decide to take you along. Poyun will certainly be overjoyed to know of this matter." "Ha ha ha, that's only natural," Yan Zhuhai let out a long laugh. "According to Sect Master Huo, Poyun frequently misses young Yun since his trip to the Snow Song Realm. Junior Xianxia asks forgiveness for the late greeting." Xianxia respectfully bowed to the duo. "No need to be so polite," Yan Wangkang said in a gentle tone. The two great sect masters of the Flame God realm would have never conversed with any Ice Phoenix disciple, even if they were an elder. Moreover, their expressions and tone were extremely gentle. However, Xianxia definitely had the qualifications to be treated so by them. Not only because he was a direct disciple of Mu Xuanian, but also due to his great elemental talent that deeply shocked even two distinguished sect masters like them. And the thing that evoked a great sense of goodwill in their hearts towards Xianxia was naturally the words that he had said to Huo Poyun, when the latter had admitted defeat in a miserable state. As they were talking, the crimson profound arc activated and flew straight in the direction of the flame god realm. The profound arc tore through the sky as it traveled thousands of kilometers in the blink of an eye. It was incomparably calm inside the profound arc, without the slightest fluctuation in the air, making it impossible to sense that the profound arc was covering distance at an extremely fast speed. The Flame God realm was worlds apart from the simplicity and indifference of divine Ice Phoenix Sect, which could be noticed from the way it was decorated. Xianxia was led to a well-prepared room by two disciples from the Flame God realm. The room was especially spacious and was fully decorated in a luxurious fashion. Despite being only a guest room on the profound arc, it appeared far more gaudy than the Ice Maiden Palace, where he stayed during his time in the Ice Wind Empire. The Snow Song realm is truly destitute in comparison. Xianxia couldn't help but let out a sigh. Just this much was enough to make out that the Snow Song realm had no qualification to be considered on par with the Flame God realm if it didn't have the presence of a mighty person such as Mu Xuanian. He had heard Mu Bingyun mention before that all great realms were connected to each other by a transmission formation, which could be used by paying sufficient purple stones or purple crystals. But the Flame God realm used a profound arc to receive them and chose simple flight as their traveling method. Although the profound arc could travel at an extremely fast speed, it still required 8 hours to reach the Flame God realm. Why didn't they directly make use of the transmission formation? With Master's strength, it would be 1,000,000 times faster to travel even via tearing apart space. Could it be just for the sake of formality? That might really be the case, as he had nothing else to do. Xianxia closed his eyes to rest and soon entered into meditation. Then, after an unknown period of time, the sudden sound of footsteps could be heard from outside the room. Xianxia opened his eyes when he heard the sound. "Young Yun, can I come in to have a talk?" The voice of Yan Wangkeng, the sect master of Vermilion Bird Sect, sounded from outside. Xianxia got up immediately and went over to open the door. "Sect Master Yan." "Ho, did I disturb you?" Yan Wangkeng asked with a laugh. "It's a matter of great honor to me that Sect Master Yan has come to visit me. There's no way I'd feel disturbed. May I ask what instructions Sect Master Yan has for me?" Xianxia said respectfully. "I only wanted to chat a bit with you. Consider it taking care of you as your esteemed master has ordered. All right, let's sit down." With that, Yan Wangkeng closed the door and sat down by himself. "Then please excuse this junior." Xianxia didn't act unreasonably or cower either, and at once sat before Yan Wangkeng. If such a scene were to be witnessed by a resident of the Flame God realm, their eyeballs might have popped out from fear. In the entire Flame God realm, only Yan Juhai and Huo Rulie had the right to sit alongside him. "Young Yun, I heard that you have come from a lower realm. May I know which star realm you're from?" Yan Wangkeng asked. When he first came to the Snow Song realm, he had no hesitation in revealing his birthplace and even took the initiative to tell Feng Mo that he was from the Blue Pole Star on the very first day of his arrival. After being severely reprimanded by Mu Xunian at the Heavenly Lake, his sense of vigilance was thoroughly awakened. Hearing Yan Wangkeng asking such a question all of a sudden, he replied in an apologetic manner. "About that, Junior has come from a little planet, so Junior is sure that Sect Master Yan has never heard of it. Hence, it would be useless to mention its name." Yan Wangkeng was a bit startled at Xianxia's tactful answer, but didn't pursue the matter or show any dissatisfaction. He lightly laughed before saying, "Let's forget about it then. I may be extremely curious to know about the star realm from where an extraordinary genius like you has come, but I think such a talent could only be bestowed by heaven, and it has no actual relation with the star realm you were born on. Sect Master Yan flatters me too much. This junior is undeserving of so much praise," Xianxia responded. "That might be true for others, but your case is absolutely different." Suddenly, Yan Wangkeng sighed with emotion. "When a person of your master's capability appeared in the Snow Song realm, I thought that her achievements would remain unsurpassed for eternity, with no one able to reach the same heights as her ever. Who would have thought that my estimation was so off the mark? It seems that Snow Song realm is truly blessed by heaven." While voicing his thoughts, Yan Wangkeng didn't bother hiding the look of admiration and envy on his face. After all, people like him who had reached such an age and cultivation level were hardly left with anything to pursue other than finding a successor with exceptionally good aptitude. One could inherit their power and will. It would be for the best if their successor had the potential to surpass them eventually. However, to succeed in realizing such a thing was in fact even more difficult than becoming a sect master. "Xianxia, oh, ho. Looks like I said a bit too much." Yan Wangkeng waved his hand. "Young Yun, you can have as much fun as you want when we get to the Flame God realm. So long as your master does not decide to hurry back, you can freely let that good-for-nothing son of mine take you anywhere you want. As for the horned dragon, your master will be the one to deal with it. When the time comes, you just need to watch her taking it down from afar." Ha. Yan Wangkeng laughed in a very relaxed manner. It was apparent that he was especially confident in slaughtering the ancient horned dragon this time. Xianxia slightly pondered before saying, "Junior expresses his gratitude for Sect Master Yan's kind hospitality. Junior wishes to ask about a matter. In Senior's opinion, how much possibility is there in hunting the ancient horned dragon?" "Well," Yan Wangkeng was about to give him a reply when he forcibly swallowed back his words. He shook his head and said with a smile, "You should ask your master about it. No other person has the qualification to answer that question." Xianxia looked blankly at him for a brief moment. "Sect Master Yan, can I ask for the meaning behind those words?" He. No matter how perfect our preparations are, it's your master who is going to fight with the horned dragon in the end. So naturally, only she has the right to talk about the success rate of our objective," Yan Wangkeng said, with a rather noticeable smile of helplessness. Yun was startled before immediately reacting to his words. "You mean my master is going to fight the ancient horned dragon all by herself?" Yan Wangkang was taken aback by Yun Qi's reaction. That's only natural. Yun Qi opened his mouth to ask, "Don't tell me the 3 senior sect masters are not going to participate in the battle." An awkward look flashed past Yan Wangkang's face. "It seems your master hasn't told you anything about the hunting of the ancient horned dragon. We have hunted the horned dragon multiple times in these past several thousand years, and your master has always fought it alone so far. Even if the 3 of us want to assist her, we don't have the ability to do so." Yun Qi fell in a daze. It went without saying that he was certainly unaware of the hunting process before, and was actually under the impression that the Flame God Realm was the one exhausting all their power and primary battle force, while his master was only there to provide external assistance. Who the FCK would have thought that they completely relied on his master to fight it single-handedly. Yan Wangkang let out a bitter laugh. "You also saw it 3 months ago, how the 3 of us were utterly defeated in an instant, despite jointly resisting the attack that she had launched in anger. You are currently unable to understand or imagine the real strength of your master. Ha, much less you. Not even I, Sect Master Yan, or Sect Master Huo are able to understand the extent of her strength and capability. She is an existence of the Divine Master Realm, after all, the closest realm to becoming a god. Since that ancient horned dragon's strength is equivalent to a person at the Divine Master Realm, although your master is able to rival it, it's absolutely impossible for the 3 of us. Rashly charging it would be no different from having a death wish. Besides, we cultivate fire attribute profound arts which poses no threat to it." Yan Wangkang shook his head. "Our role is to determine the period when the ancient horned dragon begins to cast off its scales, and immediately lock onto its location when it breaks out of the god-burying inferno prison." "What the heck? No wonder you guys were willing to let Master take away as much as half the body of the dragon, despite it being a creature of the Flame God Realm. So you were completely dependent on Master to fight it on her own, and did nothing other than provide the dragon, as well as doing the job of an advance scout. 3 months ago, he felt that it was an incomparable display of sincerity for the 3 great sect masters to personally come to ask for it. But now it seemed that it was completely natural for them to do so. However, I do believe that your master is quite likely to obtain a positive result in the hunting this time. During the previous hunting period 1,000 years ago, she would most probably have succeeded if not for that unforeseen incident. Even though she failed on the verge of success, the dragon fault of the horned dragon was injured by your master. This interval of 1,000 years isn't enough for it recover." "Dragon fault?" Yun Qi blurted out in a loud voice. "Oh," a doubtful look appeared on Yan Wangkang's face. Yun Qi promptly explained, "I had a sword before which was also called Dragon Fault. It's just a coincidence, but I ended up embarrassing myself before Sect Master Yan." Dragon Fault, such a nostalgic name. Chu Yuechen was pregnant when he got that sword. It accompanied him and bathed in blood as he fought his way ahead on the path of cultivation. That sword witnessed his most important growth period, him dominating the Blue Wind ranking tournament, exterminating the Burning Heaven clan and awing the leaders of the 7 nations. Its contribution was so illustrious but didn't have a good end. It was eaten by hunger. "I see." Yan Wangkang nodded with a faint smile. "Sect Master Yan, although Junior has never seen the ancient horned dragon, I do know that a dragon has the strongest body among all living beings. Consequently, their recovery ability should be extremely strong too. Given the mighty strength of the ancient horned dragon, coupled with the fact that it lives in the god-burying inferno prison which has the most suitable environment to it, how is it possible that it has yet to recover from its injury, even after a whole 1,000 years?" Yun Qi stated his doubt. Yun Qi was very clear about the recovery ability of a dragon. He also possessed Dragon God's bloodline and had such a strong recovery ability that he himself found it fearsome. "Ho ho, you're right. When it comes to the strength and ability of body, no living being could compare to the dragon race. If any part of their body gets severely injured, it'd be completely healed before long, with the sole exception of its dragon fault," Yan Wangkang explained with a smile. "That's the place where the life gate of a horned dragon exists, and as such, it is the only weak place on the horned dragon's body. Once it suffers an injury, it would greatly damage its vitality, and it require quite a long time to recover completely from such trauma. Moreover, if you could seriously injure that place, it's also possible to have it directly meet its death. You can also say that the dragon fault is its fatal weakness." "Oh, so that's how it is," Yun Qi nodded in realization. Since it's the location of the life gate, it should be very difficult to seriously injure the dragon fault. Of course, it is. The ancient horned dragon guards its dragon fault with its extremely strong energy. To make that energy scatter and injure the dragon fault is actually even more difficult to accomplish than directly inflicting a severe injury on its body. During the several times your master has fought with it, she has never intentionally aimed to attack its dragon fault. After all, doing so would only cause you to waste your strength and stamina. The reason she managed to deal an injury to its dragon fault was because it had lost a great amount of its energy after a long and fierce battle, where it was being suppressed by her in all aspects. Now that the ancient horned dragon has yet to recover from the injury to its dragon fault, and there's a clear increase in the profound power of your master. This time, Yan Wangkang paused for a moment before saying assertively in a changed tone, "We'll definitely succeed." "There must be no issue if Sect Master Yan says so," Yun Qi said before continuing. "Junior feels that Master will very likely succeed in the hunt." "Oh right, may I know about the exact location of the dragon fault on the body of T ancient horned dragon?" Yun Qi asked curiously. After all, it was the first time he had heard that the horned dragon had such a weakness like the dragon fault. "It's located right in the center of its belly," Yan Wangkang replied. "Actually, not all dragons have a dragon fault. The horned dragon not only has a dragon fault, it also exists at the most conspicuous place among the dragon race. The reason behind such a difference might be related to its inability to take the shape of a person. However, young Yun, do keep in mind that if you ever get forced into a situation where you've no choice but to fight a true dragon, even if it's a horned dragon you're facing, do not ever attempt to proactively aim for its dragon fault. It will only lead to an increase in the danger." Yun Qi gave a deep nod. "Junior thanks Sect Master Yan for the enlightening instruction." "Ha!" Looking at Yun Qi, Yan Wangkang let out a deep sigh all of a sudden. "It's such a pity that you're still too young and the profound God convention is right around the corner. If it was to be held 10-odd years later, allowing you sufficient time to grow, it would be absolutely possible for you enter the top 1,000. Even I am unable to fathom what heights you'll reach before the next convention 3,000 years from now. It's really so regrettable." He shook his head heavily as he sighed from the bottom of his heart. "Yun Qi, now that someone like Poyun has appeared, and the profound God convention is going to be held soon, the horned dragon hunting this time is extremely important to our flame god realm. So long as the hunt turns out to be a success, with the combined efforts of us 3 sect masters, Poyun will definitely be able to undergo a thorough transformation once again. Consequently, his odds of entering the top 1,000 in the profound God convention will also greatly increase. It's extremely likely that his experience in the eternal heaven divine realm will be of great assistance to him in becoming the first ever divine master of my flame divine realm." Yan Wangkang raised his head. It was easy to make out that he was really looking forward to it and was also feeling very tense. "We need to succeed this time at all costs, and everything depends on your master. Although it has been decided that both parties will take whatever they need after the hunt, the flame god realm will certainly remember the favor, if we are able to attain our goal perfectly." The air around them abruptly grew restless. Yan Wangkang slowly got to his feet. "Looks like we've arrived at our destination." The flame god realm was similar, and yet quite the opposite of the snow song realm. It had been a burning hot realm since time immemorial, with an extremely high density and activity of fire elements. The hot temperature was far beyond the endurance limit of an ordinary person, but it was a paradise for the inheritors of fire attribute bloodlines, fire attribute profound beasts, and cultivators of fire attribute profound arts. The flame god realm was formed on an ancient flame vein. Similar to the case with snow song realm, the flame vein had already existed there since the ancient era of gods. At the core region of the flame vein, there was a vast sea of fire spanning an expanse of nearly 50,000 kilometers, the god-burying inferno prison. The inhabitants of the flame god realm held the utmost reverence for the flame vein and the god-burying inferno prison. Furthermore, they had never stopped exploration of the god-burying inferno prison during these countless years. Unfortunately, none of them had ever managed to reach the bottom of the god-burying inferno prison, just as no one had ever reached the bottom of the heavenly Netherfrost Lake. As the god-burying inferno prison was far, far greater than the heavenly Netherfrost Lake, whose end could be seen at a glance, it could be even considered as an ancient miracle. When the profound arc stopped and Xianxia got out, he was suddenly met with a blast of hot air. The air of the flame god realm was completely opposite to the chilly and calm air of the snow song realm. It was scorching hot and agitated, as if they had stepped into a burning furnace. The sky was astonishingly deep crimson-colored, like a piece of iron that had been heated until it turned red. It was not clear whether it looked so due to its proximity to the god-burying inferno prison, or was a characteristic of the sky of the flame god realm. Yan Wangkang looked toward Xianxia to ask about his condition, but before he could say anything, he was taken aback by the sight before him. He thought that Xianxia would be extremely uncomfortable here, because he was cultivating ice attribute profound arts, and had also stayed in the snow song realm for a long period of time. However, when he noticed his unchanged expression and especially calm aura, he decided to talk about something else while feeling strange inwardly. We are at the central region of the flame god realm. The god-burying inferno prison is a short distance of several kilometers to the south. Yan Juhai continued after him. Currently, people from our 3 sects have been stationed at this place so that we could mobilize them at any time. We also made use of this opportunity to bring along some young disciples in order to have them gain valuable experience. Oh, right, Poyun is also here. He will definitely be very happy upon finding out that you've come to our realm. Suddenly, a cold aura passed by them and drove away all the scorching hot air in an instant. At once, the surroundings became incomparably tranquil and chilly. Xianxia clearly saw the bodies of the 2 great sect masters, Yan Wangkang and Yan Juhai, trembling intensely due to the chilliness. The figure of Mu Xuanian appeared in front of them. She was looking straight at the god-burying inferno prison to the south. Snow Song Realm King? Just as Yan Wangkang opened his mouth to speak, Mu Xuanian's chilly figure flashed before his eyes, and then she disappeared without a trace. Only her heart-freezing and bone-piercing voice could be heard from afar. This king is going to take a look at the god-burying inferno prison. Chair, you stay there. You are not allowed to casually wander around or get closer to the god-burying inferno prison. Understood, Xianxia replied obediently. Once the chilliness in the surroundings faded away, Yan Wangkang and Yan Juhai let out long sighs of relief. It was only when he stroked his forehead unconsciously that he discovered it was covered with a thin layer of ice and frost. Immediately, he sighed with emotion. The profound strength of the Snow Song Realm King has progressed even further compared to the time 1,000 years ago. It's really frightening. They had just arrived at the Flame God Realm, but Mu Xuanian didn't hesitate to straight away leave him in the care of Yan Wangkang and Yan Juhai. The ground was dried up and was emitting quite a strong burning smell, as if it could ignite at any moment. It was completely barren as far as he could see, with no sign of vitality. He caught sight of a large number of human figures in the area. They were obviously from the 3 great sects, namely Vermilion Bird Sect, Phoenix Sect, and Golden Crow Sect. Xianxia used his consciousness to scan the area, but didn't discover anything else other than the fiery aura from the people of the 3 great sects. Even Yan Wangkang, Yan Juhai, and Huo Rulie were present in the place to carry out a major event, such as hunting an ancient horned dragon. It was natural that all those who were allowed to come here were extraordinary people. Each of them was emitting an aura that was several times more terrifying than that of a volcanic eruption. It was clear that even those young, profound practitioners must be the outstanding disciples of the 3 great sects. A figure arrived before them, bringing along a scorching gust of wind. It was none other than Huo Rulie, the Sect Master of Golden Crow Sect. He asked at once, Mu Xuanian has already come? Young Yun. Xianxia stepped forward. Junior Xianxia pays respect to Sect Master Huo. Ho-Ho, the Snow Song Realm King, has left to personally examine the god-burying inferno prison. Yan Wangkang looked around as he replied with a laugh. Where is Poyun? Huo Rulie gave Xianxia a deep glance. I didn't think that she would actually bring along this kid with her. HMPH, it's nothing surprising, I guess. Sect Masters, there are things you need to handle, so please go and take care of them. We can't allow any mishap to happen during this hunt. As for young Yun, I'll have Poyun accompany him. Ha ha ha, Yan Juhai let out a long laugh. That would be for the best. Then Yan Wangkang and Yan Juhai left to take charge of their duties. Now that he was left alone with the Huo Rulie, the foe of his master, as well as the one who maliciously plotted against Mu Bingyun, Xianxia naturally couldn't stay as relaxed as he was with the other 2 sect masters. As if he had seen through his thoughts, Huo Rulie said all of a sudden, You don't need to be so tense, young Yun. I may not get along with your master, but I, Huo Rulie, owe you a great favor." Xianxia cast a sideways glance at the other party in surprise. He was astonished to see that the Sect Master of Golden Crow Sect, who was comparable to a realm king, would actually say such words to a young disciple. "That day when Poyun lost miserably to you, I felt extremely anxious looking at his dejected state," Huo Rulie said with wrinkled brows. "Poyun has an extremely high talent and consequently is a very proud individual. He had never experienced a defeat since he was young, and had also never come across anyone with a better ability over elemental laws, but on that day, he tasted defeat for the first time and a crushing one at that." "Ha!" Huo Rulie let out a very heavy sigh, watching a person like him who hadn't experienced a defeat before take the initiative to admit his loss. It was easily noticeable that he had suffered a huge blow. There's no doubt that it would have taken him an extremely long time to recover from the trauma, if not for your words. It was also possible that he might have become unable to recover after the setback. At that time, no one would have the ability to help him get back on track. But you proactively saving him not only helped him regain his spirit, he also truly understood the fact that there is always someone better out there. When he returned to the sect, he began to cultivate a lot more ardently and devotedly than in the past. His frame of mind, in particular, underwent a slight transformation, which was immensely gratifying to me. "It is all thanks to you." Xianxia shook his head as he said humbly, "Sect Master Huo is praising me too much. Junior was only able to gain the victory after resorting to a trick. As such, I really meant what I told to Brother Poyun." "HMPH. Although I find your master displeasing to the eye," Huo Rulie suddenly slapped his chest, "you're countless times more pleasing to me than your master. If you fancy anything in my Golden Crow sect or want to try something, feel free to let me know about it." His amazing generousness left Xianxia at a loss for words. "I called for that Poyun just a while ago. He'll be here very soon. Let him take you wherever you want to go." While Huo Rulie was talking with Xianxia, he suddenly heard the hurried sound of footsteps quickly approaching them from afar. "Sect Master, Sect Master." A middle-aged man in Golden Crow robe dashed over with a flushed face. He looked deeply panicked. Huo Rulie frowned and said in a reprimanding tone, "For what reason are you so flustered?" Young master, Hearing the two words, young master, Huo Rulie at once rushed ahead and grabbed the other party's shoulders as if he had been set afire. "What happened to Yer? Hurry up and speak." All of a sudden, young master's vitality plunged into disorder, and he won't be able to hold on much longer. What? A mass of Golden Crow flames erupted as Huo Rulie let loose his power. Xianxia was blown away into the distance due to the fierce blast and barely managed to avoid vomiting blood. Huo Rulie had already disappeared by this time to some unknown place. Such a terrifying force. Xianxia mumbled with a hand on his chest. Then he let out a heavy breath. Young master, was he talking about Huo Rulie's son? The person master accidentally injured 1,000 years ago. Reportedly, Huo Rulie didn't hesitate to spend an immeasurable amount of resources during these past 1,000 years to keep him alive, just as Mu Xuanian did for Mu Bingyun. Looking around him, Xianxia immediately felt depressed. When the two great sect masters personally arrived at the Snow Song realm to receive them, he thought that perhaps he would be going to Vermilion Bird Sect or Phoenix Sect, and could enjoy the treatment of the honored guest of a great realm due to the distinguished identity of his master. Who would have thought that he would be brought to the barren land in the vicinity of the god-burying Inferno prison? After their arrival in this realm, Mu Xuanian abandoned him first, and then Yan Wangkang and Yan Juhai left him behind with Huo Rulie. Soon after, Huo Rulie also disappeared without a trace. The Flame God realm deserves criticism for treating their guest in such a manner. Left all alone in an unfamiliar land, Xianxia didn't dare to walk around carelessly and could only wait in place. It was at this time that 3 young profound practitioners rapidly drew closer from the direction of the god-burying Inferno prison. Their bodies were releasing extremely active flame auras, and it seemed as though they just finished some kind of training in the god-burying Inferno prison. "They're from Golden Crow Sect," Xianxia mumbled as he sensed the flame auras of the 3 young profound practitioners. But when the 3 of them passed by him, they suddenly came to a halt, and their gazes and auras simultaneously locked onto him. "Who are you? Why have you come to this place?" The voice of a girl called out to him vigilantly, without the slightest hint of politeness. As it was currently the period when the ancient horned dragon sheds its scales, this whole region had been sealed by the 3 sects of the Flame God realm, and it had become a prohibited place. No outsider was allowed to take even half a step in here. Xianxia was not only wearing a dazzlingly snow-white robe, his body also didn't possess the aura that was characteristic to the three sects. Hence, it was natural for them to be immediately on guard. Xianxia turned around as he said courteously, "This humble one is Xianxia from the Snow Song Realm." This group of youngsters was comprised of two males and a female that appeared to be quite young. Their ages were similar to Mu Xiaolan, and they were 20 years old at most. But it was astonishing to discover that their profound power had reached the first level of the divine soul realm. Mu Xiaolan was accepted into the Ice Phoenix Palace with her cultivation of divine origin realm. It was clear that reaching such a realm at her age was deemed as an extremely high aptitude. However, the three youths were around the same age as her, but their cultivations had far surpassed hers. It was just as he expected. Each and every person brought here to watch the horned dragon hunting from the sidelines was an extraordinary disciple of the three great sects. To Xianxia's surprise, as soon as he reported his name, the youngsters had a great change in their expressions at the same time. "Xianxia, you're that Xianxia from the Snow Song Realm." Qi reported his name. Not only did the trio show an extremely big reaction, they also blatantly revealed extremely hostile expressions. "Wait a moment. Is he really telling the truth? His aura seems too weak to me," the boy on the left side said in a low voice. "That shouldn't be the case. I heard that the disciples of divine Ice Phoenix Sect wear white robes with an Ice Phoenix pattern on them. In addition, Master told me that the Snow Song Realm King would be arriving today. If he came here with the Realm King, then he must be her direct disciple." Senior Brother Poyon also said that Xianxia's profound strength has only reached the divine origin realm. Xianxia. The three of them continued their discussion for a short while. Once they had determined his identity, the boy on the right side took a step forward. He said with his head raised and chest puffed out, "Are you that direct disciple of the Snow Song Realm King that she has accepted just recently?" Xianxia nodded his head. "Yes, it's me." "Then, are you the one who defeated Senior Brother Poyon 3 months ago?" Xianxia nodded once again. "Yes, that's also me." You actually have the cheek to admit it." The only girl in the trio took a step ahead. She said aggressively, "How is it possible for someone as powerful as Senior Brother Poyon to be defeated by the likes of you? Back then, you obviously relied on the advantage of being at your home territory to trick him into defeat." "That's right. Even I can beat the SHT out of a weak person such as you, so there's no way Senior Brother Poyon would lose to you. Despite Senior Brother Poyon acknowledging it himself, we absolutely won't believe that he could ever suffer a defeat at your hands." Xianxia inwardly rolled his eyes at the words. He finally understood the reason behind the unexpectedly great reaction of the three youths after hearing his name. Immediately, he explained in a helpless tone, "I'm only slightly better than your Senior Brother Poyon at elemental laws. When it comes to profound strength, I'm naturally far, far inferior to him." "Stop spouting nonsense." It was again the girl who had spoken. She said even more aggressively and full of anger, "Senior Brother Poyon is most proficient in flame laws, and his grasp on them is even more amazing than his profound strength. Sect Master himself said that Senior Brother Poyon possesses the greatest talent with respect to flame laws since time immemorial. It's basically impossible for you win against Senior Brother Poyon, even if your profound strength were to reach the same level as him. Besides, with your insignificant cultivation of the divine origin realm, it's clear that he quite likely lost due to unfair means that you used secretly. You people of the Snow Song Realm are seriously despicable." "Exactly," the boys on her two sides chirped after her loudly. "You're free to believe me or not." Xianxia turned away, not in the mood to explain any further. "HMPH, enough with your excuses." Looking at Xianxia's undefiant attitude, the girl became much more aggressive. "Don't think that you can get away with that. You were able to cheat in the Snow Song Realm, but you're in the territory of the Flame God Realm now. It's time for us to seek justice for Senior Brother Poyon." With that, her figure suddenly moved forward. The fierce flames of the Golden Crow ignited on the girl's body, and her aura immediately underwent quite an astonishing change. "Xianxia, don't you claim to have defeated Senior Brother Poyon? In that case, how about having a duel with me? As I can't even be compared to Senior Brother Poyon's pinky, if you were to lose to me, honestly admit that you cheated in the battle with Senior Brother Poyon." Xianxia. "Ah, Senior Sister Xiaoro, he's only at the second level of the divine origin realm as well as a guest. Wouldn't that be bullying him a bit too much? Furthermore, if by any chance the Snow Song Realm King came to know about it, the young boy on the left said in a low voice. Shut up. I'm doing this to seek justice for senior brother Poyon. Seeing Xianxia's complete lack of reaction, the girl raised her face. HMPH, are you afraid? Do you feel guilty now? Then be honest and admit that you're incapable of winning against senior brother Poyon, and that competition 3 months ago was nothing but a fraud. Otherwise, you'll have to suffer for your actions. Ha! Xianxia sighed helplessly. He glanced at the trio and said in a powerless tone, Fine, fine. If that's what you want, then you three can just come at me together. Hearing his words, the 3 youths fell into a daze. The flames burning on the girl's body amplified by 2 times as she shouted angrily. I didn't think that you people of the Snow Song realm would be so shameless. I can take care of a weakling like you with just a finger, and you dare ask the 3 of us to attack you at the same time. Are there no limits to your absurdity? Before the girl finished her words, Xianxia stretched out his arm and the heaven-smiting sword appeared in his hand. Then he turned around as his profound energy and sword force erupted simultaneously. Instantly, the ground trembled a bit, and a terrifying blast swept away in an unrestrained manner. It seemed as if a tsunami had broken out all of a sudden and fully surrounded the 3 within it. The expressions of the 3 youths greatly changed in an instant. Standing at the forefront, the girl cried out in fear and promptly took a good few steps backward. The arrogant look on her face immediately turned into one of panic. Until just a moment ago, they had deemed Xianxia to be someone beneath their notice because of his profound aura that had only reached the divine origin realm. But the instant his profound aura erupted, they felt as if their bodies had been suppressed by its frightening momentum and couldn't even breathe at all. Little girl, Xianxia very slowly raised the heaven-smiting sword horizontally up to the halfway mark. How about reconsidering your strategy? Do you still want to fight individually, or would you rather launch a joint attack? Is he really at the divine origin realm? The boy on the right gulped down a mouthful of saliva heavily, with a look of disbelief on his face. Anyways, it's absolutely impossible for him to defeat senior brother Poyon. The girl was evidently surprised, and the tone of her voice had lowered by a great margin. At once she gnashed her teeth and said with impatience, What are you 2 spacing out for? Let's go at him together. We need to make sure that he admits himself that he cheated to win against senior brother Poyon. Ah, understood. Clang. Apparently unprepared to use her weapon before now, the girl quickly took a broadsword out of her spatial ring that seemed quite unmatched to her petite stature. She shouted in a tender voice as a flame dragon shot from her dancing sword and headed straight towards Xianxia. The other 2 youths also took out extremely similar broadswords. As multiple golden crow flames had been ignited, the initially scorching hot temperature crazily increased once again. The figures of the trio charged through the air, clearly with an extremely high degree of mutual understanding between them. The 3 broadswords were smashed right in Xianxia's direction at the same time, and the golden crow flames of the 3 also combined with each other at that very moment. Before the swords drew closer to Xianxia, the flames had fiercely burst open. The strong firelight was incomparably dazzling, and the might of the golden crow flame was terrifying beyond words, but Xianxia didn't even spare a glance at it. He let the golden crow flames of the 3 swallow him whole. He gathered together his profound energy and casually waved his sword in a sweeping motion. Boom, boom! The divine golden crow flame condensed by the 3 great disciples at the divine soul realm got instantly torn apart by a casual wave of Xianxia's sword. Afterwards, the might of his sword didn't lessen in the slightest and heavily swept over their bodies. When the golden crow flame was torn apart by a single wave of the sword, the trio was startled to see such an unexpected occurrence. As the profound energy storm coming from Xianxia's direction got nearer, they could clearly sense the accumulated energy of their attack being blown away in no time. Soon after, an enormous power ruthlessly struck their bodies and they got blown away into the air, as if they had been hit by a very heavy hammer. By the time they managed to stabilize themselves, while feeling shocked in their hearts, they were already several hundred meters away from their previous location. The golden crow flame formed by their combined power was presently broken into many fragments and dispersed in all directions. Xianxia stood in place, without budging an inch, in the midst of the fragmented flames. His unconcerned and casual bearing gave off the impression as if he was looking down on all of them. Senior Sister Xioru, how come he's so powerful? The boy on the right asked in a stammering voice. Perhaps he really... The flustered girl cried loudly in exasperation. Evidently, she was simply unable to accept such an outcome, or it'd be better to say that she was completely unable to accept that Poyon was defeated by Xianxia, no matter what. She put away her broadsword and brought her hands together before raising them up high, after which she channeled her golden crow flame power without holding back in the slightest. Xianxia, Senior Brother Poyon said that you could catch his golden flame sword with your hands, but I don't believe it at all. If you have guts, try to do the same against my sword. Hey, why are you two blanking out again? Hurry up and show him our real power. It's absolutely impossible that Senior Brother Poyon would lose to him. It was obvious that the three of them usually practiced together, allowing them to have an extremely high level of mutual understanding. When they channeled the power of their golden crow flames, their auras began to synchronize subtly at a very fast rate. The might of golden annihilation was very great. Therefore, it consumed an extremely large amount of profound energy, and also required a very long time for the condensation of the flame power. The profound strength of the three might be greater than Xianxia by a great realm, but it was certainly impossible for them to be anywhere close to Xianxia when it came to control over fire. Their golden crow flames burned with full force, which were next compressed, and then finally, after a whole 3 breaths, the golden annihilations took shape at the same time. During the whole process, the trio definitely showed a very big opening, but Xianxia didn't feel like making his move. He let the 3 golden crow flame swords take shape, after which they concurrently shot down towards Xianxia's head. Golden Annihilation possessed the most fearsome destruction ability among the first 7 realms of the Golden Crow's record of the Burning World. It was simply irresistible and unstoppable. Even in a fight between practitioners of the same level, it was absolutely impossible to withstand it, to say nothing of 3 such attacks launched together. Xianxia slightly raised his head and watched the 3 golden crow flame swords shooting down from the sky. He let them get closer and closer to him, without moving even a step away. In the blink of an eye, the golden flame swords arrived right over Xianxia's head. Although his expression still remained unchanged, the 3 disciples of the Golden Crow Sect felt very panicked in their hearts. Is he truly not going to dodge? He's a direct disciple of the Snow Song Realm's Realm King. If we end up killing him due to our carelessness, we'll be big trouble. Although they were feeling alarmed and confused in their hearts, it was already impossible for them to stop the swords, even if they wanted to. The auras of the 3 Golden Crow flame swords were linked together, and their trajectories led them to the same point, where they were supposed to be overlapped on each other, before coming into contact with Xianxia in this very instant. Xianxia stretched out his right hand with the speed of lightning and brought his hand precisely to the meeting point of the 3 flame swords. It meant that he actually attempted to catch 3 Golden Crow flame swords with a single hand and at the same time. WNNG. Consequently, the air around was jolted by a blast. The 3 Golden Crow flame swords didn't chop down his arm, as anyone would expect in such a situation, and instead came to a standstill on his hand simultaneously. Afterwards, he lightly clenched them in his palm. Bang bang. The 3 Golden Crow flame swords that were condensed by all the might of the Golden Crow Sect disciples got shattered into pieces at once, and the flames scattered into the air. WAAHHH? The screeches of the 3 resounded throughout the place. Due to the backlash of the Golden Annihilation being forcibly destroyed, the Golden Crow Sect disciples suffered a severe hit to their profound veins, and their profound energies were thrown into disorder. It was at this time that Xianxia rushed ahead all of a sudden. In an instant, the trio was completely enveloped by a strong blue light, which possessed a soul-piercing cold energy that almost scared them out of their wits. Ding 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 ding. The air temperature fell rapidly, and before the trio could calm down their aura, they were instantly sealed inside a thick layer of chilliness. Xianxia's figure flashed and appeared behind them in the next moment. Without even bothering to look at the targets, he swung the heaven-smiting sword backwards in the direction of the 3. Ping! As the ice crystal split open, cold wind covered the sky. The trio got blown away amid the chilliness that was drifting in various directions and got smashed onto the dried ground in the distance. A long period of time passed since then, but none of them got up to their feet. The 3 Golden Crow Sect disciples were divine soul realm experts, after all. When launching a joint attack, how could it be possible for them to be so easily and utterly defeated by Xianxia? The scene of Xianxia forcibly breaking the 3 Golden Crow flame swords with his palm was too much of a shock to them. They lay paralyzed on the ground, unable to regain control over themselves, as they still found it impossible for such a thing to have happened. They were feeling a similar sense of disbelief, as before when they heard that Huo Rulie, the godly genius in their eyes, was defeated by a mere divine origin realm practitioner from the Snow Song realm. The young girl, who had been acting the fiercest amongst the three, was blankly looking at Xianxia with widened eyes. Her body felt so cold that it was trembling, but the idea of using her profound energy to drive it out of her body didn't even come to mind. Perhaps the thing she wanted to believe the most right now was that everything that had happened was just a dream. Ha 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 ha! A resounding, loud laughing sound could be heard getting closer. Very soon, a youth dressed in a pure gold long robe descended from the sky. It was none other than Huo Rulie. Looking at the sorry plight of his junior brothers and sister, he said with a smile, "Do you understand now the meaning of there's always someone better than you out there? Senior brother, Rulie." The girl called out in a weak voice, but it seemed that her mind had yet to fully recover. Huo Rulie turned around, revealing a sincere, joyous look on his face. "Brother Yan, I can't express my happiness to see you again after these 3 months. However, I never expected that Brother Yan not only possessed a world-astounding talent in the elemental laws, but you also possess a speed of cultivation that would be so amazing too." Rulie can only gasp in admiration. Xianxia said with a smile, "My insignificant profound strength is so low in comparison to Brother Ruilie's that they can't be talked about in the same breath. Moreover, Brother Ruilie's profound strength has again increased significantly in just 3 months. So in fact it should be me gasping in admiration." Compared to 3 months ago, Huo Ruilie's aura had obviously undergone a considerably great change. It was really astonishing that someone at his current realm could experience so much change in the extremely brief period of 3 months. Huo Rulie shook his head, as he said smilingly, "It's a pity that this whole area is barren and also particularly far from the sect. Once we're done with the horned dragon hunting, I hope Brother Yan doesn't hurry to return. You must allow Rulie to show his best hospitality to you." "Haha, all right then, I'll comply with you and take you up on your offer." Xianxia didn't refuse and gave his consent with a laugh. Huo Rulie stretched out his hand and beckoned to the three who had just crawled up from the ground. "You three, how long are you going to take before you apologize to Brother Yan?" Xianxia waved his hand. "That's unnecessary. Since they didn't do it out of ill will, there's no need to criticize them. On the contrary, I'm truly envious to see that you have such a group of junior brothers and sisters that so wholeheartedly love and care about you. Unlike me, who was shut inside the heavenly Netherfrost Lake from morning to night after becoming a direct disciple of Master. Let alone getting the chance to show authority, I haven't even seen the shadow of my junior brothers and sisters. Back then, I could at least still tease Xiaolan to have some fun, ha." The 3 young Golden Crow disciples carefully walked over with bowed heads. They stood in a row and looked like 3 little kids who had committed a grave mistake and were awaiting their punishment. Huo Rulie shook his head at their appearance and smiled. All right, there's no need to be discouraged. Even I had to concede defeat before Brother Yan, much less the lot of you. Are you all satisfied now?" We are," the boy on the left nodded repeatedly. "I'm sorry, Big Brother Yan, not only have we overestimated our capabilities, we even offended you." The boy on the right also bowed deeply when he said this. "I can't believe you're so strong, Big Brother Yan. No wonder Senior Brother Rulie praised you so highly. We were unconvinced about your strength earlier, but now, we were wrong." A cultivator's profound art affected one's temperament a lot. This was something Xianxia had known for a long time. Snow Song Realm's cultivators cultivated extremely powerful ice profound arts, so they were so even-tempered that they were almost detached. Just the same, Flame God Realm's cultivators had completely different personalities because they cultivated extremely powerful fire profound arts. Most of them were pretty much unyielding and outspoken. They wore their emotions on their sleeves, and if they lost to someone they initially didn't agree with, they would submit to them wholeheartedly. They never hid or pent up their emotions. Ha, there's nothing to worry about. No discord, no conquered, right? Xianxia was never a person to put on airs. "Oh, right, I haven't asked for your names." "Hello, Big Brother Yan, my name is Huo Rulie, fire that burns the plains," said the boy on the right. "Hello, Big Brother Yan, my name is Huo Rulie, fire that burns the sky," said the boy on the left. "Hello, Big Brother Yan, my name is Huo Liao, no, my name is Huo Wenru, gentle fire," said the girl in the middle. Xianxia cast a wordless glance at the young girl. Just who is the blind fellow who says that a person's personality is like their name? Huo looked around and asked doubtfully, "Brother Yun, why is Master not with you?" He had to leave due to something urgent. Xianxia hesitated for a moment but ultimately revealed the truth. It seems like the condition of Sect Master Huo's son has worsened. "Ah!" the three young disciples exclaimed at the same time. Huo also looked shocked to hear this. After that, he let out a soft sigh. "I see, Brother Yun, this place is desolate and barren, so there aren't many places at all that I can show you. If I may ask, what will be your plan, Brother Yun?" Xianxia looked towards the south. "I heard that the ancient god-burying inferno prison is just hundreds of miles away to the south. If you are free, can you lead me to the ancient god-burying inferno prison for a visit? To be honest, I've been looking forward to this since the day I heard about this place." Huo looked troubled. "If this was any other time, your request would not be a problem at all. But right now, the horned dragon is." Huo suddenly changed his tune after wrinkling his eyebrows. "Never mind. If it is your wish, then why not? The horned dragon won't be showing its face yet anyway." The duo immediately jumped up into the air and flew towards the south while enduring heat waves. Although they were still hundreds of miles away from their destination, Xianxia could see at first glance that the southern part of this land was completely scarlet and bright red. It looked like the burning lava of hell. "I heard that the ancient god-burying inferno prison extends to 500,000 kilometers and eternally burning. What a miraculous place this is. It's no wonder that it could nurture a terrifying creature like the ancient horned dragon." Xianxia sighed. Huo said, "The ancient god-burying inferno prison is what created the flame god realm. If the fire of the ancient god-burying inferno prison were to vanish one day, then the flame god realm would also cease to exist. Speaking of which, I've heard of the ancient horned dragon of the ancient god-burying inferno prison since I was aware of this world. However, I've never actually seen it with my own eyes. It would be nice to be able to finally fulfill this wish." Xianxia said smilingly, "Unfortunately, it may appear that the disciples of later generations will never get to witness an ancient horned dragon in their lives." "Ha ha ha ha!" Huo laughed loudly, but it faded away quickly as a complicated look overtook his face. "The reason the masters are so anxious to hunt down the ancient horned dragon is all for my sake. In fact, after they succeed, they will lose a great amount of profound strength and even lifespan. What virtues or abilities do I have to deserve such treatment?" Xianxia shook his head. "It is exactly because you are deserving that they are so willing and anxious to pay the price. They are not doing it just for you, but also the future of the flame god realm. Therefore, you don't need to be afraid of this kindness. Instead, you should accept it calmly and repay it to the best of your ability in the future." Huo fell silent for a moment before his expression cleared up. He smiled honestly. "You are right, Brother Yun. I will do everything I can to get into the Profound God Convention's top 1,000. I will not disappoint my master and the two sect masters." Xianxia nodded, but on the inside he was incredibly envious of Huo's sigh. "All I want is the qualification to enter the Profound God Convention. Forget the top 1,000 spot. I'll be satisfied if I can come in last in the entire Eastern Divine region. Unfortunately, it is a task that is as difficult as a mortal scaling the heavens. Comparison really kills. Although you've never succeeded before in the past, I can see that my master and the 3 sect masters of the Flame God realm are pretty confident in their chances this time. So I believe that someone who will shock the entire God realm will soon appear in the Flame God realm. Who knows, maybe the Flame God realm will skyrocket to become an upper star realm after the eternal Heaven-Divine realm has emerged," Xianxia said sincerely. "All right," Huo nodded strongly. "For those words, Brother Yun, I swear that I will become one of the top 1,000 cultivators in the Profound Divine Convention even if I have to risk my life." The duo flew very quickly, and the distance between them and the ancient god-burying inferno prison kept shortening over time. Although they were still dozens of miles away from the place, a sea of flames that seemed to engulf both the land and the blue sky had filled every part of their vision. Speaking of which, I don't think that ancient horned dragon has ever left the ancient god-burying inferno prison, has it? Xianxia asked suddenly after a thought hit his mind. Although the ancient horned dragon was so strong that even the 3 flame god sect masters combined were no match for it at all, they didn't seem afraid that the creature would turn around and attack the flame god realm. "That is true," Huo nodded. According to my master, the ancient horned dragon is very likely a creature that was born from the ancient god burying Inferno prison's flame veins. The ancient god burying Inferno prison is its source of power, and both its power and its aura are connected to the ancient god burying Inferno prison. If it stays away from the ancient god burying Inferno prison for too long, it will lose its power and life swiftly, like a fish away from water. That is why the ancient horned dragon has never been recorded leaving the ancient god burying Inferno prison. If that was the case, the flame god realm would have been struck by disaster already. I see. Xianxia responded understandingly before asking again, if its aura is connected to the ancient god burying Inferno prison, doesn't that mean that it's impossible to sense where it is unless it appears on its own? Of course. Huo Rulie nodded again. When it sinks into the ancient god burying Inferno prison, its aura will become merged with the place itself. Therefore, probably not even your master could sense where it is. The ancient horned dragon sheds its scales only once every 1,000 years, and it must move away from the ancient god burying Inferno prison during that time. This is also the only time we can detect it, every 1,000 years. No wonder. RMMBB? The sound of churning seas of flame came from afar, and the heat waves that had been surging against their faces immediately grew several times stronger. From afar, the flames of the ancient god burying Inferno prison surged to the sky, as if 1,000 volcanoes had erupted in unison. Even better, this was just a common heat wave in the ancient god burying Inferno prison. It was at this moment the air coming towards them abruptly slowed, as a fiery red figure abruptly appeared before them. An invisible wall forced both Xianxia and Huo Rulie to stop. The person before them was a naturally intimidating old man with a serious and overcast expression on his face. He looked slightly surprised to see Huo Rulie, but relaxed immediately as he asked, "Why have you come here, Rulie? And the person beside you, Elder Wantu?" Huo Rulie wasn't surprised at all to see the elder. He saluted him quickly and said, "This is the Snow Song Realm King's direct disciple, Xianxia. This is the first time he's in the Flame God realm, and I am taking him for a visit around the Inferno prison." "Oh, so he's—" The elder's gaze on Xianxia changed immediately when he heard this. A moment of hesitation later, he said seriously, "All right, you may pass. However, the ancient horned dragon may appear at any moment. You will be in great danger if it happens to be roaming around here somewhere, so you absolutely mustn't go beyond the edge of the Inferno prison." "Don't worry, Elder Wantu. Brother Yan and I are simply here to check out the Inferno prison at close range. We will be returning very soon, and we absolutely won't enter the Inferno prison," Huo Rulie promised. The elder nodded slowly. "That will be best." Before he left, he added, "You absolutely must be careful." The elder cast another deep glance at Xianxia before he finally left. "He is the Vermilion Bird Sect's Great Elder Yan Wantu," Huo Rulie introduced. "Great Elder?" Xianxia looked surprised. "Every time we try to hunt down the dragon, the strongest experts of all sects will come together at this place. While the main group is fighting against the ancient horned dragon, they will guard this area and protect us young disciples from getting hurt by the shockwave." Huo Rulie explained, "The Vermilion Bird Sect is not the only sect on guard duty. The top 30 elders of all three sects are mostly gathered around this place." Xianxia's eyebrows wriggled as he asked, "You said that the ancient horned dragon cannot be detected while it is in the ancient god burying Inferno prison. Naturally, it is impossible to know where it'll show up on the map. The ancient god burying Inferno prison is 500,000 kilometers wide, and the margin of error is huge to say the least. However, you are setting guards around here as if you are very certain that it will appear nearby." "Of course we're sure." Huo Rulie smiled. "That's because the ancient horned dragon always sheds its scales around the northern shore, and it never goes beyond a few thousand meters away. The closest it ever got to the northern shore was recorded at 1,500 kilometers, and the furthest was less than 5,000 kilometers. There has never been an exception. It is very obvious that its lair is somewhere around the northern shore. Therefore, we can't go wrong by stationing guards around this area." "Oh, I see." Xianxia nodded in understanding again. However, another question quickly surfaced in his mind. If the dragon was at least several thousand kilometers away from the shore, then it was impossible to catch sight of it no matter how powerful one's eyes were. However, Huo Rulie also said earlier that he could finally see this legendary ancient horned dragon with his own eyes. So what did he mean by that? They quickly covered the remaining hundreds of kilometer distance and arrived at the edge of the ancient god-burying inferno prison. Here, there was no longer any ground that was burned red by the flames. There was only a vast, boundless, boiling red sea of hell that would stun anyone who saw it. This fiery sea had boiled for at least 1,000,000 years. Here, the sky had long since been scorched into the same red color. At a glance, it was impossible to find the boundary line between the blue sky and the red sky. It was almost as if the boundless sky itself had been devoured by this terrific fiery hell. The air in this place was so hot that even a divine way profound practitioner could hardly endure it. It was incredibly likely that any refined steel that was brought into this place would melt just by touching the air around this place. Inside the churning sea of flames, a huge amount of dancing fire spirits could be seen. The illusory demon realm's 1,500-kilometer sea of death was the scariest and most extreme place to exist in the entire realm. There were literally no demon emperors before the little demon empress that dared approach it. But compared to this 500,000-kilometer-wide ancient god-burying inferno prison, the Sea of Death was like a tiny stream, be it in terms of size, intensity, or aura. The two were completely incomparable. Author's note, this chapter's important keywords: undetectable after entering the ancient god-burying inferno prison and lair. This magnificent sight is truly difficult to put into words. Looking to the front, Xianxia let out a deep sigh of emotion. His snow-white robe and pupils were also reflecting the deep crimson color of the scene before him. Huo Rulie glanced at Xianxia and said in surprise and bewilderment, "Brother Yan, could it be that you don't feel any sort of discomfort?" "I'm still all right." Even those disciples of the flame god realm who have just entered the divine way would not be able to withstand the aura and temperature of this place for long. Xianxia not only seemed in a much better condition than simply still all right. His face looked the same as usual, and his breathing was calm as well. He didn't even employ his protective profound energy to protect his body. When he recalled how Xianxia could totally avoid being influenced by his 9 sons' heaven's fury, his heart calmed down in understanding. Such a miraculous thing could only be created by the power of an ancient true god. It's really difficult to imagine the extent of the amazing power that was possessed by a true god. Master and the others firmly believe that there definitely is something left behind by an ancient true god at the bottom of the god-burying inferno prison. If we're able to discover it, the status of our flame god realm can upgrade by a level. However, Huo Rulie shook his head. There's no way ordinary beings could control something that was left by a true god. In fact, Master and the others already know that it's no more than an extravagant and unattainable hope to obtain something at the bottom of this inferno prison. Unless the flames of God-burying inferno prison die out someday. It's just that such a thing? Huo Rulie didn't speak any further, as it was obvious what he wanted to say. Xianxia remained silent for a while. He thought back to the ice phoenix at the bottom of the heavenly netherfrost lake. It was actually the remnant body of an ancient ice phoenix. If such a matter were to be spread around, it would greatly shock the entire god realm. This god-burying inferno prison is tens of thousands of times greater than the heavenly netherfrost lake, so it naturally contains far more energy than the latter. What could be hidden at the bottom of such a vast creation? Is some great opportunity that can help my profound strength soar to a new height lying in there? Xianxia slowly clenched his hands into fists. All right, I certainly need to look for the opportunity to enter the depths of the god-burying inferno prison. With my physique that can resist all kinds of fires, reaching the bottom is no problem at all. However, first of all, he had to make sure not to draw too much attention from the people of the flame god realm due to it. Secondly, according to what Huo Rulie had told him, the location of that hidden thing should be close to the lair of the ancient horned dragon. Given the might of the ancient horned dragon, and the fact that its aura was blended with the god-burying inferno prison, the spirit sense of the horned dragon must extend to a vast area when inside the god-burying inferno prison. If he were to rashly sneak around and get detected by any chance, no amount of lives would be able to help him survive through the catastrophe. So, the best time to carry out my plan is when the ancient horned dragon surfaces out of the inferno prison and is engaged in battle with Master. At that time, the attention of everyone from the flame god realm would be focused on the horned dragon hunting. Therefore, no one would care about his whereabouts, and he would also not have to face the danger of coming across the ancient horned dragon. Brother Yan, what are you thinking? Seeing Xianxia lost in thought, Huo Rulie asked casually. Xianxia also replied in quite a casual manner, I'm thinking that this ancient horned dragon is somewhat pitiful. He never did anything bad nor come out of the god-burying inferno prison, but gets constantly beaten and killed by others. Doesn't that make us seem like evil people? Ha 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 ha, Huo Rulie laughed. So true. But speaking from the perspective of the laws of the profound way, its existence is a sin and its strength is a law in itself. You're right, Xianxia nodded his head. Speaking of which, how big is that ancient horned dragon? Is its body something like thousands of meters or thousands of kilometers long? No, no, no. Huo Rulie immediately shook his head. Brother Yan might be surprised to know, but according to Master, although that ancient horned dragon may have a lifespan of at least several 100,000 years, the length of its body, including the tail, is no more than 100 meters. 100 meters? Xianxia got a really big surprise. Only 100 meters? Even though the strength of the horned dragon couldn't be determined based solely on the shape and size of its body, as an existence that was born in the millions of kilometers huge god-burying inferno prison, and had a lifespan of at least several 100,000 years, and the terrifying power of the divine master realm, for its body to be only 100 meters long was really a bit too unscientific. Actually, Xianxia would have rathered feel a lot less surprised if it was thousands of kilometers long and could at once cover the sky and hide the sun with its body, causing the heaven and earth to be devoid of light. Although its body is very small, the strength it possesses is incomparably terrifying. Even someone as powerful as my master couldn't even get close to the horned dragon, let alone battle with it. Only your esteemed master is capable of doing so. When Huo Rulie was in the midst of conversing with Xianxia, a pure golden, engraved jade on his right shoulder glimmered before emitting golden rays of light all of a sudden. He promptly reached out his hand to place it on the engraved jade and very soon blurted out in surprise with a big change in his expression. What? Xianxia quickly turned his head sideways. Brother Rulie, what exactly happened? It's about senior brother Huo Rulie. He seems to be getting closer and closer to death. Huo Rulie? Suddenly Xianxia remembered something. Before leaving him behind hastily, Huo Rulie had shouted the name Yer. Could it be? Oh no. I've to immediately return back. If something were to truly happen to senior brother Huo, Master will certainly go crazy. Now that we're about to deal with a major matter soon, I am probably the only one who can pacify Master. Before even letting the other party react to his words, Huo Rulie immediately turned around to fly away. Wait a minute, I'll go with you. Huo Rulie was burning with anxiety at this moment and already didn't have the time to discuss anything with him. He directly grabbed Xianxia with a hand and flew back in the direction he had come from with a speed almost 10 times that of when he had arrived here. Huo Rulie was Huo Rulie's first son. Later, Huo Rulie suffered a severe backlash of the Golden Crow flame due to his impatience to succeed in achieving a breakthrough. This incident caused him to become impotent and consequently, Huo Rulie became his only son. Unfortunately, before Huo Rulie could take charge of his responsibilities, he was unwittingly injured gravely by Xianxia. He had Golden Crow bloodline in his body and was also practicing the Golden Crow's record of the burning world, both of which were extremely vulnerable to ice. Therefore, he straight away lost his bodily functions after getting injured, turning into a total cripple. For him to be able to survive while at death's door until today could be already considered a miracle in itself. It could also be made out how much Huo Rulie was against the idea of him dying. After all, Huo Rulie was his sole descendant. If he were to die, that would spell the end of Huo Rulie's lineage. Having somehow managed to stay alive for so long and consumed numerous life-extending medicines, Huo Rulie had reached his limit eventually. During this period of time, his condition had been rapidly worsening, which made Huo Rulie so anxious that he didn't leave his side, even after arriving at the god-burying inferno prison region. Scram! All of you get lost from here. Leave. Yer, yer! Like a sudden clap of thunder, an irritated and unrestrained voice that was filled with endless pain and sorrow could be heard coming from afar. Huo Rulie's whole body tensed up, and he increased his movement speed even further. Very soon, a temporary house with several layers of profound formations around it appeared in his line of sight. Naturally, the profound practitioners who had arrived at this place for the horned dragon didn't need such a house to live in. It was made just for the sake of Huo Rulie, the son of Huo Rulie. There were 10-odd human figures guarding the house. Judging by the robes they were dressed in, they appeared to be Golden Crow Sect members. Huo Rulie quickly flew down. As soon as they caught sight of him, everyone below revealed a slight joy on their faces, and an elderly person said in an urgent voice, "Rulie, hurry up and pacify your master." Huo Rulie directly entered the house without replying to anyone. Xianxia hesitated a bit before following closely behind him. The people of Golden Crow Sect were so stunned by his sudden appearance that they missed the chance to stop him from entering the house. The moment he got inside, he felt all kinds of profound lights and dense auras on his face. At a glance, Xianxia saw an aged person with dry and rough skin weakly lying in there. His eyes were open but completely still, and even the pupils couldn't be seen at all. Since there was almost no aura present on his body, anyone who looked at it would determine him to be a dead person. The place underneath his body was covered with a thick layer of profound crystals. Though they were of different colors, they released extremely high-level profound auras. Evidently, they were being used to help prolong his life. Huo Rulie was kneeling beside him with his head lowered deeply and his entire body trembling. He was breathing heavily like an ox, and his aura was in utter disorder. Furthermore, his face was completely drenched in hot tears. Huo Rulie was greatly alarmed by Huo's state. Even though this day was bound to come sooner or later, why did it have to happen now of all times? Who allowed you to come inside? Get out of here. Scram! Huo Rulie let out a fierce roar. His voice had turned completely hoarse and contained deep pain and despair. "Master, it's me!" Huo Rulie immediately walked forward to help him up. "Senior brother Huo, he has persisted for so long, so he'll be fine for sure. Master, you must come down first. He's going to be all right." He had no idea how to comfort the current Huo Rulie and could only use lackluster words with all his might. Huo Rulie's trembling slightly lessened upon hearing his words. He didn't roar any longer but still kept his head lowered deeply. Mournful sobs escaped his mouth. "He can't be saved, my Yer. Can't be saved now. I, Huo Rulie, will lose my only son." The feeling of sorrow originating from Huo Rulie's soul infected each and every wisp of aura in the place. Right now, he didn't look the slightest bit like the mighty and intimidating Golden Crow Sect Master of the Flame God realm, and instead seemed to be a father that had fallen into the spiral of infinite pain and despair. Huo Rulie knelt down beside Huo Rulie and said in a light voice, "Rulie's debt of gratitude to Master is as weighty as a mountain, and Master has been a father figure to me. Even if Master were to lose senior brother Huo, so long as Master does not abandon me, Rulie will stay at Master's side for his whole life." My good Yuner," Huo Rulie mumbled. These past years, Huo Rulie had become the biggest mental support of Huo Rulie, who was constantly living in fear of losing his son at any time. Xianxia released his profound energy outside and swiftly swept it over Huo's body. Soon after, a deep frown surfaced on his face. Huo's condition was much too miserable. All his meridians, profound veins, blood vessels, and internal organs were a complete mess. They were damaged to such an extent that it was simply not possible for them to get damaged any further. Moreover, they seemed to have been stuck to each other for long, due to the overflow of internal fluids, which was too tragic to put into words. To Xianxia, the whole situation looked as if a long, dried-up tree was trying to survive in some way or another. The things with the strongest intensity in his body were the auras of dozens of varieties of spirit herbs. It was precisely these spirit herbs and all those high-level profound crystals that were somehow keeping the last bit of life force preserved in Huo. Even if he could stay alive in such a condition, it would be worse than dying and freeing himself from his current suffering. Dying would in fact be a better choice. The reason Huo had persevered so far was not because of the desire to live, but due to being afraid of Huo Rulie going through a total mental collapse after his death. Xianxia thought to himself, "Although his body is in tatters, I can't help but gasp in admiration at his extremely strong willpower. He truly deserves to be the Golden Crow Sect's young master. Sect Master Huo, Brother Rulie, you two head out first. I have a way to save him." Xianxia finally opened his mouth and spoke. Huo Rulie suddenly raised his head. Due to being immersed in the enormous feeling of pain, it was only now that he discovered the existence of Xianxia. Seeing the Ice Phoenix snow-white robe that Xianxia was wearing, his eyes instantly flared up as he bellowed, "Who allowed you to come inside?" "Scram, get lost," Xianxia said with an unchanged expression. "I'll say it once again, I have a way to save him. If you don't want him to die, then get out quickly." "What nonsense are you spouting?" Huo Rulie slowly stood up. The profound energy emanating from his entire body was rapidly increasing. My year ended up this way all because of your Phoenix Sect, and yet you actually dare? Master, Huo Rulie promptly stood before Huo Rulie and said anxiously, Brother Yan intends to save senior brother Huo Yi. Save? How could he? How is he going to do that? Huo Rulie howled in a sad voice. It was already impossible to save Yer since that time 1,000 years ago. Do you know how much I have paid for prolonging Yer's life until today? At this moment, there is already no way left to save him, and he still dares to say that with his ability. What about my ability? Since I dared to say those words, what else do I want besides saving him? You think that I want to cause harm to him or something? Xianxia stretched out his hand and pointed at Huo Yi, who seemed like a dead person, before saying, Given his present condition, is it even possible to hurt him any further? His ruthless words caused Huo Rulie to fall into a daze. He is on the brink of death and could die at any time. If you truly don't want him to die, then you should try to believe even an absolutely irreconcilable foe or a passing beggar, if they tell you that they can save him. There's just no room or reason for doubt or refusal in such a situation. Of course, if you never wanted to save his life, then ignore what I said just now. Having finished his words, Xianxia turned around and headed out. Brother Yan, Huo Rulie cried out loudly. He quickly jumped in front of Xianxia and said in an urgent voice, Master, Brother Yan is definitely not someone who would speak without thinking. Since he dares to say that he has a way, he must be quite confident in obtaining a positive result. I fully agree with Brother Yan that it is already impossible for senior brother Huo Yi's condition to get even worse due to any wrong attempt to save him. The hope of succeeding may not be big, but that is no reason to refuse his help. Huo Rulie exhaled long and heavy breaths a few times, but his body was still trembling. All right, young Yan. You're right about that. No matter whether your words are true or false, if you can so much as keep Yer alive for a few days or even several hours, Huo Rulie. As time is of essence, don't waste time on unnecessary words and leave at once. No one is allowed to enter the house before I come out myself. Also, do not use spirit sense to look inside. Xianxia came over to Huo Yi's body as he issued orders. Master, let's go out first. I believe in Brother Yan, Huo Rulie said in persuasion. Huo Rulie took in a deep breath, gnashed his teeth, and pulled Huo Rulie along with him as he turned to leave. Afterwards, he tightly shut the door to the house. Qi made his move with lightning speed. With the center of his palm pressed at the center of Huo Yi's chest, he immediately channeled the power of the Rage God, causing the spirit energy of the heaven and earth to slowly and carefully flow into his body. It seemed as if a trickling stream was pouring onto a dried-up desert. Huo Yi was in an extremely bad condition, and there was only a wisp of life force left in his body. Therefore, Xianxia wanted to stabilize his life force first, but he needed to be as prudent as possible. He used nearly 2 whole hours before reaching the point where the spirit energy of the heaven and earth started to overflow from Huo Yi. Afterwards, his left hand shone faintly with green light as he placed the tip of his finger between his brows and used the purification power of the sky poison pearl to cover his whole body with utmost carefulness. Medically, Huo Yi's body had completely stopped working, and he didn't have any energy left in him. His body was so utterly messed up that Xianxia was absolutely certain that he was unable to save him with his medical skills, no matter what he tried. If his condition wasn't so serious, there was no reason for the distinguished Golden Crow Sect Master of the Flame God realm to be able to do nothing except feeling despair at the state of his son. But there was another thing in this world, besides the medicinal arts, that could save Huo Yi, the power possessed by Xianxia. Huo Yi's totally crippled and dried-up body could only recover with the help of the spirit energy of the heaven and earth. In addition, medicinal arts were incapable of opening the blockages throughout his body, but the ultimate purification power of the sky poison pearl was able to accomplish it. 1 more hour passed, and the purification power of the sky poison pearl finally covered Huo Yi's entire body, with no unforeseen incident happening during the process. Xianxia felt a bit relaxed and let out a long sigh of relief. He mumbled to himself, "You're lucky to have met me, and it's also a fortunate matter that you have the Golden Crow bloodline. Otherwise, it would be almost impossible for me to be capable of saving you, even if my great way of the Buddha had reached the 5th realm. I hope that after you're saved, the 2 realms stop being so hostile to each other." The biggest difficulty in this healing process was to successfully see it to its completion. At once, the rate of the spirit energy of the heaven and earth and purification power surging through Huo's body increased even further, and his barely surviving life force speedily radiated with vitality, like a sprout being rejuvenated and watered by spring breeze and rain. As the blockages were opened, blood started to slowly flow through his vessels, and his completely dead meridians began to wriggle slightly. After remaining inactive for a very, very long period of time, 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, waiting outside the door, Huo Rulie was feeling ceaselessly irritated and anxious. Had Huo Rulie not continuously dragged on and persuaded him, he would have already rushed inside, without any concern for the instruction given to him before. But as more and more time passed, Huo Rulie actually began to be a bit hopeful for a positive outcome, because Xianxia was definitely not a person who would speak without thinking. Moreover, it was true that the result of his treatment couldn't be any worse than it was. Eventually, after a very long period of 6 hours, Xianxia's tired voice resounded beside their ears. "Sect Master Huo, you can come in now." As if being set afire, Huo Rulie quickly pushed open the door and entered the house. Huo Rulie followed closely behind him. Just as earlier, Huo was calmly lying on the pile of profound crystals. There was no change in his posture. The moment Huo Rulie rushed inside, he caught sight of Huo's eyes and instantly fell into a daze. Because not only did his eyes not contain the look of hopelessness that he had become accustomed to, they also appeared to be almost shining. Seeing Huo Rulie, Huo slightly moved his lips as he said in a hoarse voice, "Father." Even though his voice sounded hoarse and weak, it was quite audible. Hearing Huo calling out to him, Huo Rulie stood blankly in place, as if he had just heard 2 sudden claps of thunder. He felt a burst of dizziness, and his body inclined sideways, leaning heavily against the wall on the side. If not for Huo Rulie promptly supporting him, he might have ended up kneeling paralyzed on the floor. "Senior brother Huo, you..." Huo Rulie saw an unprecedented expression in Huo's eyes. Although his face was still deathly pale, it no longer seemed to be unbearably dried up as it had been until now, and was instead covered in a layer of clearly perceivable vitality. "Junior brother Rulie," Huo uttered, as a faint smile gradually appeared on his pale face. "I can finally get a clear look at you." He was speaking in a very slow and low voice, but each and every word of his was very audible. Huo Rulie opened and closed his lips repeatedly, but couldn't say a thing due to feeling ecstatic at the great change in Huo's condition. "Yer! Yer!" Huo Rulie shouted twice, as though he was in a dreamy state. He pounced forward with tottering steps and knelt down in front of the profound crystals. When he was getting near, he had even more clearly felt the aura of Huo's life force, which made him so excited that he found it hard to believe his senses. He reached out his hand and cautiously placed it on his son. As he probed into Huo's body, he once again fell into a daze and didn't recover his self-possession for a long time. Not only was his body suddenly brimming with 100 times more vitality than before, he distinctly sensed the flow of his blood too. Huo's internal organs were wriggling, and Huo Rulie could even feel his meridians. "Father, is this all true, or is your child having a dream?" Huo inquired, but there was a faint smile on his face. It was Huo Rulie's first time seeing him giving a sincere smile in the past 1,000 years. Huo Rulie's body intensely shook, after which he raised his hand and firmly slapped his own face. "Pa!" The slap was extremely resounding, loud enough to be heard from a couple of kilometers away. As his cultivation had reached the divine sovereign realm, it was only natural that the right side of his face has turned completely red. He stretched out his hand to his face, and tears immediately streamed out of his eyes due to intense pain. Afterwards, he surprisingly began to cry hardly like a child. "It is true, everything you are experiencing right now is true, Yer." Due to crying bitterly and becoming extremely emotional, he couldn't even speak a phrase properly for a long while. "This is simply a miracle," Huo Rulie muttered before looking towards Xianxia and sighing deeply. "Brother Yan, you're the most extraordinary person that I've ever known." It was only now that Huo Rulie finally recalled Xianxia's existence. At once, he turned around his head to see Xianxia squatting in place with a tired expression. Evidently, he had to spend a huge amount of his power for the treatment. Huo Rulie wiped off his tears and said with his still trembling voice, "Young Yan, Yer, truly." Huo Rulie was so excited at the moment that he could only speak incoherently. Perhaps he himself didn't know what exactly he wanted to say either. Xianxia said in a straightforward manner, "As Sect Master Huo should have already checked, There's nothing to worry about any longer. Brother Yi has recovered quite a lot, and his life is out of danger now. Junior only needs to treat him with the same method 2 more times, and then normal healing spirit herbs will be enough to help his body heal bit by bit. Quite likely, Brother Yi will fully recover within 2 to 3 years. Ah! Huo Rulie wide opened his mouth. The stinging pain on his face was telling him that everything he was hearing and seeing was absolutely not some dream. But such a pleasant surprise was just too huge for him to believe, making it all seem so imaginary that it felt as if was in a dream. He opened his lips a few times before asking almost unconsciously, Then, can he get married and give birth to a child? The thing that hurt him the most was to see the end of his bloodline. Xianxia rubbed his nose and said in an unhurried tone, It seems Sect Master Huo didn't hear my words clearly. Junior said that he'll be fully recovered. Since he'll be fully healed, naturally he won't be facing any sort of issue with respect to those things. Ah he he. Ha 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 ha. Huo Rulie bent over in place and laughed like a deranged person. Master, senior brother Huo Yi, that's great. That's really, really great. Huo Poyan felt happy from the bottom of his heart, and his eyes were also holding tears in them. He was the one who would usually stay the closest to Huo Rulie, and had clearly seen the enormity of the pain Huo Rulie and Huo Yi had endured all these years. If Huo Yi could truly attain a full recovery, it would be as good as a rebirth not only to him, but also to Huo Rulie. However, I would like to ask Sect Master Huo to keep it a secret that it was me that treated brother Huo Yi. Otherwise, it will very possibly bring trouble, Xianxia said in reminder. Huo Rulie quickly nodded like a chick pecking at rice. Right, absolutely right. Secret, we must keep it a secret. Currently, he was so excited that his mind was in an unclear and disorganized state. He didn't even know how to express his gratitude to Xianxia, so it was obvious that he would agree to his every word. If I, Huo Rulie, speak anything of the treatment, may the heavens strike me with 5 bolts of lightning. Brother Yan, rest easy. I, Huo Poyan, won't speak a word about it, Huo Poyan said with a heavy nod. Other than that, I also have a news that may not sound that nice. Sect Master Huo, I hope you're mentally prepared for it, Xianxia said in a calm voice. Huo Rulie was taken aback at his words. Immediately, a tense look surfaced on his face. Junior is confident that brother Huo Yi's body will fully recover within 3 years, and there will be no problem with becoming as healthy and fine as a normal person. But it is certainly not possible for his profound strength to recover. Furthermore, his profound veins are different from others and have been left in a dried-up and wasted condition for too long. Therefore, they will recover at an extremely slow rate. According to my estimation, Brother Yi will at least need 30 years before he can start cultivating his profound strength. As soon as he finished his words, the surroundings became pin-drop silent for a long, long while. Huo Rulie was slack-jawed, and the expression on his face wasn't one of regret or disappointment, but an even more excitement. You mean to say, Yer can cultivate his profound strength once again? Of course, Xianxia nodded. Although Brother Yi's profound veins are severely injured and have been exhausted of power for a long period already, his foundation has yet not experienced complete damage, and Junior was somehow able to rouse it. If it was someone else, it would not be possible. But Brother Yi has the Golden Crow bloodline, and it is no issue to Sect Master Huo to obtain all kinds of high-level profound crystals. With the gradual recovery of Brother Yi's Golden Crow bloodline, along with the effect of high-level profound crystals, his profound veins can certainly recover in 30 years. Huo Rulie's chest fiercely undulated. He wouldn't have believed such words at all if it was some other person saying them. But after seeing Huo Yi's condition, he would absolutely believe Xianxia, no matter how inconceivable he might sound. He let out a long and heavy breath before rushing over to Huo Yi once more. He said with incomparable excitement, Yer, did you hear? You're going to be completely fine. Not only that, you can once again cultivate profound strength after a short 30 years. You heard that right? At number %, the corners of Xianxia's eyes bent oddly. It seems that the time of 30 years is very short to the people of the God realm. I was worrying in vain that such a news would be a blow to them. Huo Yi opened his mouth as he looked at Xianxia. Brother Yan, you've done me a favor again, which I'm really unable to repay. But Xianxia said, no need for thanks. It's my master who injured you in the first place. What I did for you is far, far insufficient to make up for the pain you went through all these years. I only ask that you don't resent my master too much. However, Huo Yi lightly but resolutely shook his head. No, I've never resented your master. At that time, I was full of youthful vigor and had no idea about the fearsomeness of the divine master realm. I sneakily approached the hunting site, wanting to see the true appearance of the ancient horned dragon. Everything that happened is the result of my own actions, so there's no way I would resent your master. I also advised Father against doing anything ill-natured many times, but Father had lost all reason and ended up doing what he did. It should be me apologizing to your esteemed master and Senior Bingyun. Yunqi? Yes. Yer is right. Huo Rulie promptly nodded his head. Back then, I definitely lost all my reason and committed a big sin. Yer, as long as you get better, let alone apologizing to the two in person, I'd even be willing to kowtow 800 times to them. All right, now you stop wasting your energy talking and take a good rest. No. But Huo Yi shook head in response and said in a light voice, "It has been so long since I felt alive in the real sense. Let me enjoy this feeling for a little while longer." His words caused Huo Rulie to tremble intensely as he lowered his head deeply. His shoulders kept shaking and he couldn't say a thing for a long time. "Brother Poyun, let's go out." Yunqi got up on his feet. "All right." As the two of them walked out abreast, Huo Poyun found it difficult to calm down the turbulence in his heart. He gave a deep glance to Yunqi before sighing with emotion. "Brother Yun, I really don't know how to thank you for all you have done in this world. There's truly such a thing as a miracle, huh?" Although he was amazed by the outcome and extremely curious about the treatment method that Yunqi had used to save Huo Yi, he didn't ask him anything related to it. Yunqi shook his head. "I'm enormously indebted to Master, but have never been able to repay her in the slightest. Just consider it as the first thing I have done for my master. This is my first time seeing Master act in such a manner. I'm afraid no one would believe me if I were to tell others about it." Huo Poyun laughed. "Master has always been one who makes sure to return grudges as well as favors. But Brother Yun has done such a huge favor this time that once Master calms down, he will be in for a long spell of headaches, ha ha ha." Yunqi also laughed along with him. "Well, if he truly wants to repay me with something, I'm not going to refuse it. I believe that after today, I'll certainly get to see a completely changed Master." Huo Poyun's eyes were filled with joy. Even though I've been at Master's side for 10-odd years, he has spent these years suffering from too much pain and tiredness. He knew in his heart that Senior Brother Huo Yi would have to go through unceasing, extreme pain as long as he was alive. But it was impossible for him to prepare himself for Senior Brother Huo Yi's death and so continued to forcibly keep him alive. Perhaps it would be hard for anyone to ever experience such torment of the heart and soul. Yunqi. In these past years, Master has traveled to all the big star realms in order to personally look for things that could prolong Senior Brother Huo Yi's life. He didn't hesitate to pay any price to obtain them, to the extent that he even violated the code of morality and secretly purchased wood spirit orbs over 100 times during these 1,000 years from the Darkia realm. Wood spirit orb? Yunqi came to a halt all of a sudden. Huo Poyun naturally didn't know the reason behind him reacting so. He said with a bitter smile, "Master is an honest and sincere person too. If not for Senior Brother Huo Yi, he absolutely wouldn't have done such a wrongful deed. After all, Master deeply abhors such things." Yunqi nodded his head. "Sect Master Huo's love for his son is definitely quite moving. By the way, what kind of place is the Darkia realm?" Yunqi asked in a seemingly casual tone. "That is a lower star realm," Huo Rulie replied matter-of-factly. "According to Master, there exists a large number of hidden underground black markets. Master bought the wood spirit orbs precisely from those places. These underground black markets are extremely well hidden and absolutely won't allow the entry of untrustworthy people. Fortunately, Master had the sound transmission imprint of the leader of one of the black markets and was thus able to purchase wood spirit orbs. For the sake of conveniently traveling to and from the Darkia realm, Master paid a huge price to open up a profound formation that is connected to the space of the Darkia realm. He has really expended much care and thought on the matter." Huo Poyun let out a light sigh before saying in a low voice, "Brother Yun, be sure to never tell anyone about it, as it would damage Master's reputation." "Of course," Yunqi nodded, while firmly remembering the name Darkia realm. As the two of them were chatting, 2 streaks of firelight suddenly appeared in the sky ahead. Afterwards, they arrived closer to the dew in no time. When they caught sight of Yunqi and Huo Poyun, they stopped in their tracks and shouted from afar, "Poyun!" Seeing the 2 middle-aged people, Huo Poyun promptly walked forward and greeted respectfully, "8th Elder, 17th Elder." "Elder." Yun Qi was faintly shocked inwardly. They seemed to be from the Golden Crow sect, judging by their clothes, moreover. They were actually elder-level members of the sect. 8th Elder Huo Rulie and 17th Elder Huo Rulie. Elders, were you not stationed at the Inferno prison? Did something unexpected happen? Huo Rulie asked cautiously. Ha! 8th Elder Huo Rulie let out a heavy sigh. We just found out that the young master had abruptly fallen into a dangerous situation several hours ago, so we rushed over at our top speeds. I wonder why, Suddenly, he saw Yun Qi's robe, causing a frown to immediately surface on his forehead, and he asked in a stern voice, "Are you from the Snow Song realm?" His voice was gloomy and harsh and also contained apparent anger. It was not only the case with 8th Elder Huo Rulie, as the expression of 17th Elder Huo Rulie also changed all of a sudden. Feeling alarmed in his heart, Huo Rulie at once said, "Elders, this is Yun Qi from the Divine Ice Phoenix Sect, a direct disciple of the Snow Song Realm King." HMPH. So it's really him? Huo Rulie furrowed his brows deeply with a hostile look. Only he could be brought here by Mu Xuanian, despite having such a weak, profound strength. Huo Rulie snorted. The atmosphere had become tense. Huo Rulie was extremely clear about the reason behind their hostility towards Yun Qi. He quickly said, "Elders, there is no need to worry. Senior brother Huo Yi is fine for the time being and Master is personally taking care of him. If you don't have any other instructions, Rulie will be excusing himself." "Wait a moment," Huo Rulie called to him to stop. "Rulie, why are you together with this boy? And you also seem to be protecting him. HMPH, just him leave by himself someplace. How can he deserve to be entertained by you?" Huo Rulie felt flustered inwardly and immediately pulled Yun Qi's arm to tell him not to get angry. He said in an urgent voice, "It is Master's order. In addition, Brother Yun and I both—" "Enough!" Huo Rulie wrinkled his brows. "There is no way Sect Master would order such a thing. Rulie, you are young and simple-natured, so it is only natural for you hit it off with others. But this boy, do you know why the young master ended up in his current state? Do you know how many of our Golden Crow sect disciples were killed by his master 1,000 years ago? Brother Huo Yi already." Huo Yi quickly stopped halfway through his words. He had just promised to keep the matter about Yun Qi healing Huo Yi a secret, so he could only choose different words. "Those grudges from the past have no relation to Brother Yun." "How is there no relation? He is a direct disciple of Mu Xuanian and will be the inheritor of her legacy in the future. All those who have a connection with that woman will be considered the sworn enemies of our Golden Crow sect," Huo Rulie said in a stern voice. His blazing eyes looked coldly at Yun Qi. "HMPH. I can understand Mu Xuanian coming here, but she actually has the guts to also bring along her direct disciple. Is she so confident that we won't cripple her successor, whom she found after much difficulty, or did she never care about your life in the first place?" "8th Elder." Huo Rulie was greatly panicked and at once stepped in front of Yun Qi. Yun Qi's heart was still in a completely calm state. It was not surprising to him to see the Golden Crow sect harboring so much resentment towards the Divine Ice Phoenix sect and could even understand them. But he felt that they were going a bit too far. After all, he was their guest right now. Besides, Huo Rulie's mocking words and gaze immediately angered him, and he said in a cold voice with lowered brows, "Aren't the two of you mistaking something? It's not that my master and I wanted to come here, but we were in fact invited by you guys of the Flame God realm. Furthermore, 2 great sect masters personally hurried to the Snow Song realm, driving the Phoenix-winged Ark in order to receive us. Be our brother Yun." Huo Rulie was even more frightened when he listened to his words. Oh, hearing Yun Qi's words, the 2 elders had slightly changed expressions in their eyes. Huo Rulie narrowed his eyes a bit and said with a grim smile, "Good, very good. You're worthy of being a disciple of Mu Xuanian and growing in the right direction. You actually have the nerve to talk back, huh? It's true that the Vermilion Bird Sect and Phoenix Sect invited you people from the Snow Song realm, but that's not the case with my Golden Crow Sect. As we were going to deal with a major event, we thought that it might not be a bad idea to make use of your master, Mu Xuanian. That's the only reason we didn't oppose the decision to invite her. Otherwise, as long as my Golden Crow Sect exists, even Mu Xuanian can't take a step into my Flame God realm, let alone a little bastard from the Snow Song realm like you." "Use." Yun Qi showed no signs of giving in and instead countered his words with a cold smile. "Your 3 strongest sect masters of the Flame God realm don't even dare to speak carelessly before my master. So what can you 2 even amount to? If you were to stand in front of my master, she would likely feel it beneath her dignity to even take a glance of you too. And you still have the cheek to talk about using my master. Brother Yan. Huo Rulie was so scared that his heart almost skipped a beat. He stretched out his hand with lightning speed and pulled Xianxia away, before saying anxiously, I won't keep the two elders any longer from checking out on senior brother Huo Rulie bids you farewell. Before Huo Rulie could forcibly make his way out of the place with Xianxia, a heavy voice reverberated in the surroundings. Huo Rulie said slowly, if this boy from the divine Phoenix Sect was obedient and well-behaved, I could overlook his presence here. However, he dared to act arrogant and domineering in my flame god realm. Rulie, according to the rules of our flame god realm, what is the punishment for being disrespectful to a senior? Just as Huo Rulie was about to answer, he heard Xianxia began to laugh crazily while spewing ridicule. Brother Rulie, although Sect Master Huo has a grudge against my master, he has never resented me due to it. But these two are pretending to be angry because of moral reasons, when they are only taking advantage of their seniority to bully and humiliate a completely unrelated junior. How contemptible. Trash like them, that bully a junior to show off and feel gratified can't do SHT in front of my master. I'm surprised that such trash could be elders in the Golden Crow sect. They're plainly a huge disgrace to the sect. Once Xianxia became truly angry, he would definitely not hold back on cursing others. You impudent bastard! Who would have thought that they would be loudly cursed by a junior with his finger pointed at their faces? As elders of the Golden Crow sect, Huo Rulie and Huo Rulie had never experienced such treatment before. They also didn't expect a junior to act so daringly before them. At once, the two of them flew into a rage. Flames sprang up on Huo Rulie's palm as he said angrily, You brat, you've got some big guts for sure. Heh, we're afraid of Xianxia. Don't make me laugh, it's just that I never got the opportunity to meet her. Otherwise, I'd have personally made her cry out her parents' names using the Golden Crow flame, without the shadow of a doubt. Elders? Ah! Huo Rulie had made up his mind to give his all to prevent the situation from worsening, and was even ready to contact Huo Rulie through sound transmission. But just when he was about to speak, he was slack-jawed all of a sudden. His pupils shrank at once and he blankly looked on, frozen in place, as if he was scared silly. Huo Rulie and Huo Rulie both noticed the abrupt change in Huo Rulie's expression. They raised their brows simultaneously and then swiftly turned around subconsciously. In the next moment, a pair of eyes appeared in their line of sight that seemed to have originated from the abyss of an icy hell. Dressed in a snow-white robe, Xianxia gave off the impression of a snow and ice goddess that had descended from the heaven. Exuding her world-toppling charm and chilly aura that could even freeze the world, she was standing on the dried-up ground, less than 10 steps behind Huo Rulie and Huo Rulie. Her eyes were absolutely beautiful and calm-looking, but contained extreme chilliness. The light radiating from her eyes stabbed into their eyes and pricked the depths of their souls, as if it was a splinter from an ice abyss. Huo Rulie and Huo Rulie's bodies went stiff all of a sudden. They felt as though they had suddenly fallen from a scorching hot sun to the bottom of hell, causing their bodies to tremble in cold, and their souls quivered frenziedly. Gradually, they could no longer sense the existence of their bodies and souls, and only felt an unprecedented, extreme fear that spread to each and every corner of their consciousness. Huo Rulie opened his mouth wide, as uncontrollable groans escaped his mouth over and over. His pupils had enlarged to dozens of times of their usual size and were on the verge of tearing apart. His face no longer held the mighty look and haughtiness that he had displayed earlier, and every bit of his muscles, as well as his veins, were trembling intensely in fear. Xianxia's eyelids continuously twitched, and his heart beat madly. Oh no, someone's going to die? What you said just now, say it again, Xianxia said in a slow voice. When the two heard her dull and emotionless tone, it sounded like the judgment of a death god. Rulie and Huo Rulie were both unmoving, as if their bodies had become fixed where they were. Huo Rulie's mouth still opened and closed ever so slightly, as if he was trying his utmost to say something, but no words came out, even after a long time. Currently, both of their foreheads were covered with droplets of sweat. Each drop chilled them all the way to their hearts. Indeed, what Xianxia had said was not the slightest bit wrong. Huo Rulie and Huo Rulie both had extremely deep-seated grudges against divine Phoenix Sect, but they only dared to vent their anger in front of Xianxia in Xianxia's absence. Even if they had 10 times more guts, they still wouldn't dare to say such words in her presence. In fact, it was likely that they wouldn't have said anything at all. After all, in the past, because of Mu Bingyun's situation, Mu Xuanian had caused the Golden Crow sect to become bathed in blood and destroyed all of the Flame God Realm's vassal star realms. As for Huo Rulie, since he had pretended to know absolutely nothing about Mu Bingyun's situation, he couldn't do anything but swallow his anger for 1,000 years. As their sect master was like this, the entire sect could only follow. That year, of the people whom Mu Xuanian had killed, they naturally included Huo Rulie and Huo Rangkang's disciples or relatives. However, with Mu Xuanian's strength backing her, they could only accept it. They had borne this for more than 1,000 years, and today, they had finally been presented with Mu Xuanian's direct disciple on a plate in their own Flame God realm. Of course, they had to take this opportunity to vent. After all, who didn't spit harsh words with a sharp tongue? But regardless, they absolutely didn't have the guts to make any moves against Xianxia, because in the end, these two were both elder-level figures of the Golden Crow sect. They were absolutely not that stupid and reckless, especially with the great matter which would affect the future of the Flame God realm right around the corner. Thus, Xianxia completely dared to relentlessly reprimand them in return. But after suddenly running into Mu Xuanian, the atmosphere had completely changed. The instant Huo Rulie and Huo Rangkang, who had just been arrogantly and indignantly standing in Xianxia's face, saw Mu Xuanian, they both almost instantly retreated in terror, their former courage completely disappearing. To have become elder-level figures in the Golden Crow sect, they both naturally were not gutless worms, but the person who had appeared was none other than Mu Xuanian. Due to their own levels, they knew even more clearly just how terrifying Mu Xuanian's strength was. They also knew just how ruthless she was. She was the most terrifying figure they had ever encountered in their entire lives, and also a person that they absolutely could not anger. The corners of Xianxia's mouth trembled as he resisted the urge to say what he wanted. He could only silently think to himself, "This is what you two get for being arrogant. Right now, not even the gods can save you." Only, as they were currently in the Flame God realm, and with the matter of hunting the ancient horned dragon coming up, if his master were to severely injure them or even go so far as kill them, the situation would quickly deteriorate, resulting in only bad consequences for both realms. Snow Song, Realm King? Huo Rulie mustered his courage and as much of his guts as he could and stepped forward, seemingly attempting to plead for their lives. But his words had only just been spoken when an icy wind began to gust atop the burning land. Bang, blue light flashed as crystals of ice formed and shattered. Atop the ever-burning land, the heat which had been there for countless years dispersed in an instant as a seemingly endless chill began to spread. Amidst tragic cries of shock and terror, the two elders of the Golden Crow sect were like bundles of straw as they were sent flying outwards from the center of the exploding field of ice. They flew an extremely far distance before heavily smashing into the ground. Neither of them stood back up. Instead, they both laid where they landed, curled up in a fetal position. Their bodies trembled greatly, as if they were sifting sand through a sieve. Despite circulating their profound energy, they were completely unable to disperse the frost energy which had so quickly entered their bodies. For the first time in their lives, they realized just how terrifying coldness could be. It was as if every cell in their bodies had been pierced by an icy stinger. This pain surpassed even the most cruel torture that they knew. The two of them were like two dying larvae. Their entire bodies continued uncontrollably trembling and shriveled up into balls. They couldn't survive, but they couldn't die either. "Please, Snow Song Realm King, please have some mercy," Huo Rulie frightenedly shouted. Huo Rulie and Huo Rangkang were not only two formal elders of Golden Crow sect, they were also the 7th and 8th ranked elders. Within the entire divine realm, they were figures with extremely high statuses. But in front of Mu Xuanian, they were nothing more than bugs who couldn't withstand a single attack. Mu Xuanian completely ignored Huo Rulie as her figure blurred. She suddenly reappeared beside Huo Rulie and Huo Rangkang as she said again in a voice which sounded even more terrifying than a nightmare, "What you said just now. Say it again." Huo Rulie slowly raised his trembling right arm, which had almost completely lost feeling due to the cold, as several extremely pained words came from his mouth. "Have mercy." Fire and ice clashed, and the resulting forces caused the pressure pressing down on him to double. Even with the Golden Crow's bloodline within him and his cultivation of an extremely pure fire profound art, An extreme cold had permeated through his entire body. It was clear that it wasn't so simple as just pain. If it continued, it was likely to cause irreparable damage to his profound veins. Towards any profound practitioner, this was their greatest fear. Ha-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha-him. A great burst of powerful laughter resonated over from far in the distance, but then, as if the person had sensed something abnormal, the laughter suddenly stopped. Following afterwards, an extremely powerful, stormy energy began to approach them. In the time it took for everyone to turn around, the source of energy had already appeared in front of them. "Master!" Huo Rulie cried happily. It seemed like Huo Rulie had laughed too hard, as his smile was slightly crooked when he appeared. His eyes swept across the two figures on the ground. It was only a while later that he realized that these two people, who were tragically curled up on the ground, were none other than Huo Rulie and Huo Rulie. At that moment, Huo Rulie's smile suddenly stiffened, as he quickly rushed over and ignited his golden crow flames to envelop the two of them and disperse the cold energies within them. His brows furrowed as he asked Huo Rulie, "What happened here?" Huo Rulie quickly walked forward as he hastily replied, "And nothing big. It was just the two elders were a little too biased with their words earlier, and thus they were punished by the Snow Song Realm King. It's already over. It's truly fine already." As Huo Rulie was someone who had already lived for more than 10,000 years, he instantly understood the cause. He understood both Huo Rulie and Huo Rulie's personalities like the back of his hand. Even if they were 100 times more courageous, they still wouldn't dare speak biased words in front of Xianxia. They must have encountered Xianxia and then allowed some of their energy to disperse, resulting in Xianxia emerging. These two temperamental fellows, they were just too unlucky. Under the powerful energy of Huo Rulie's golden crow flames, the frost energy enveloping Huo Rulie and Huo Rulie dispersed. The two shakingly stood up, but before they could even say anything, Huo Rulie's foot had already slammed into Huo Rulie's stomach. Huo Rulie's kick sent Huo Rulie flying tens of meters into the distance. Huo Rulie's head smashed into the ground. As his body was still numb from the cold, he didn't manage to stand up for a long time. "You trash! The Snow Song Realm King is our Flame God Realm's esteemed guest who was extremely hard to invite over. For you two elders of my sect to dare be disrespectful with your words, have you both become tired of living?" Huo Rulie, Xianxia, Xianxia, Huo Rulie who had been kicked, and Huo Rulie both suddenly became dazed. In the entire sect, the person who hated Xianxia the most was undoubtedly Huo Rulie, who could sometimes curse her 300 times in a single day. Were these words truly coming out from Huo Rulie's mouth? Sect Master, feeling like something was clearly off, Huo Rulie apprehensively said, "We absolutely wouldn't dare be disrespectful to the Snow Song Realm King. We only had a little matter with the brat surnamed Yan." Bang. Huo Rulie had not yet finished speaking when Huo Rulie's foot connected with his ass, sending him flying like a rubber ball. Huo Rulie landed face down on the ground in a similar manner to Huo Rulie, like a dog eating shit. Behind him, Huo Rulie's voice thundered as he reprimandingly said, "What brat surnamed Yan? Who are you calling a brat surnamed Yan?" Young Yan is the Snow Song Realm King's direct disciple, and is similarly an esteemed guest of my Flame God Realm. What kind of dog fart method of addressing him are you two using? Did none of your parents teach you two how to treat guests? Huo Rulie, Xianxia, Xianxia. Sect Master we. Huo Rulie crawled up with great difficulty, but right when he opened, a foot once again heavily slammed into his back, sending him tumbling through the sky again. "You are still speaking. Why you? Just where are you getting this courage from?" Bang. "Didn't I send you two to go guard the Inferno prison? Who told you to come back without any permission?" Bang. "What is there to look at? Why don't you hurry up and scram back?" Bang. "For you both to dare to treat our esteemed guests so disrespectfully, you have lost our face to the Snow Song Realm." Bang. "Even with how important this upcoming matter is, you both still dared to cause trouble for your daddy here. If something had truly gone wrong, don't think that I wouldn't have killed you both." Bang. "My cheerful mood today has been completely ruined by the two of you." Bang. "Who told you two to get up? Quickly scram. Bang, bang. Huo Rulie's voice was extraordinarily strong and loud. Each and every one of his insults caused the sky to tremble. As for his feet, each one was like a clap of thunder as he kicked the two formerly dignified Golden Crow sect elders like they were rubber balls. They were each kicked tens of times in a row over a distance of hundreds of meters before Huo Rulie finally turned back to everyone else and said, "Snow Song Realm King, my apologies, my sincere apologies, ha. When all of this is over, I will have these two apologize to you in person again. My apologies, my apologies." Muxunian. Huo Poyan's gaping open mouth slowly closed a long while later, followed by a heavy gulping sound from his throat. As for Yunqi, he inwardly let out a deep breath. Huo Rulie was only saving the two. Otherwise, with his master's temperament, Huo Rujin and Huo Rankong would be half dead, if not completely dead. Muxunian suddenly turned her head as she looked at Yunqi and asked, "What happened?" Huo Rulie's behavior just now was much more than abnormal. It was as if he had become a completely new person. This, Yunqi could only obediently confess. "Just now, disciple, used some medicinal technique that your disciple learned from a lower realm to save Huo Yi. As long as he is treated 2 more times, Huo Yi can fully recover in the next couple of years." Muxunian's gaze became fixed on Yunqi's face. She knew very well just how severe Huo Yi's wounds were. 1,000 years ago, it had already been impossible for them to be healed. So now, 1,000 years later, it should have been even more impossible to heal them. Especially with just some simple medicinal techniques and medicine. "You shouldn't have interfered in such matters," Muxunian coldly said as she suddenly turned around and disappeared like an ice spirit dissipating into nothingness. "Ah, master!" Yunqi hurriedly spoke out, but it was already too late. He could only let his hands fall helplessly back to his sides. He had wanted to speak with Muxunian about the possibility of buying a wood spirit orb from the Darkia realm. After Muxunian left, Huo Poyan's tensed nerves and body finally relaxed. Even after taking several continuous deep breaths, he couldn't get rid of the feeling of fear in his heart. He said, "Brother Yun, your master's aura is just too terrifying." Amen," Yunqi nodded. The first time he had seen Muxunian become enraged, he had felt the same way as Huo Poyan, but afterwards. The following 2 days, Yunqi would go every day to treat Huo Yi. After the second day, Huo Yi's consciousness and ability to speak had miraculously returned. He was even able to sit up for a very long period of time again. After the third day, some ruddiness had clearly returned to Huo Yi's face, and his eyes had brightened by a lot. At the least, not the slightest bit of the prior weakness could be seen. "You are indeed Sect Master Huo's son, and the person with the purest Golden Crow bloodline. The degree of Brother Yi's recovery has already exceeded my prior expectations. If it continues like this, perhaps it won't even take 3 years, you might even completely recover within 2 years," Yunqi said with a slight smile. Huo Yi looked at Yunqi, light flashing in his eyes as he replied, "Brother Yun, words cannot express my thanks. It seems like I must have been a kind person in my last 10 lives in order to meet someone wonderful like Brother Yun in this life." "Ha ha ha ha," Huo Rulie heartily laughed. "Yer, it will be hard to express your thanks until you become fully recovered, so you should focus on recovering first. You can think about how to repay Yunqi afterwards." Finished speaking, Huo Rulie turned his head as he looked at Yunqi and said, "You have not only saved the life of my Yer, but my lineage as well. This kindness, oh, it's truly becoming a great headache for me. I've been racking my brains for several days now, but still can't think of a way to repay you. How about this, you can give me any request. Regardless of what you want or what you want me to do, please speak. If I, Huo Rulie, were to hesitate at all, I am not surnamed Huo." Yunqi slowly shook his head as he sincerely said, "This junior still abides by his earlier words. Junior does not require any payment from Sect Master Huo. Junior only hopes that Sect Master Huo will no longer seek his grudges against this junior's master." Directly above them, high in the distant sky, a slight look of complexity emerged in Muxunian's pupils as she watched the scene below. But in the next instant, her brows suddenly sank as she turned her gaze southward. "It has finally come out," she spoke quietly. Then her hand grasped out, causing the sound transmission jade on her body to abruptly shatter and a long tear to appear in the void in front of her. Her body entered into the crack and directly rushed towards the raging flames in the south. "No, this is different." But Huo Rulie waved his hand and let out a sigh. "I knew that your master hadn't hurt Yer on purpose. In fact, she forced herself to stop after noticing the mistake or Yer would have been gone without a corpse, much less be alive. So she was right when she said that Yer had brought this all upon himself. But Yer is my only son, and I completely lost my cool after that terrible blow back then. I just can't calm down every time I saw Yer's condition." Huo Rulie shook his head. Never mind, forget about it. Anyway, I was the bastard who poisoned Mu Bingyun, and the fault lies completely on me. Of course, thank goodness she's fine now, and even Yer is recovering. When the time comes, I will visit Snow Song Realm personally and let that by, I mean your master do whatever she wants with me. As long as she doesn't kill me, I won't even retort. Since Huo Yi was rescued, Huo Rulie seemed to have turned over a completely new leaf. Just yesterday, he was still hating Mu Bingyun's guts, but today he was ready to accept any punishment due to Huo Yi's recovery. In fact, he had reflected on his own actions of his own accord. Your saving of Yer is a completely different matter, however. Huo Rulie hit his own chest once strongly. I, Huo Rulie, will not take back a word of what I promised you earlier. Huo Rulie's temper truly was unique. Although he was the main sect master of the Golden Crow sect, he didn't hesitate to give a mere junior, and one that he didn't even know much about, such a weighty promise. Brother Yun, if you run into any difficult troubles in the future, you absolutely mustn't be courteous, you hear. Huo Yi also smiled. My father has always been such a character. He won't be able to eat or sleep well if he doesn't repay this favor. All right. Yun Qi stopped trying to decline the offer. In that case, I shan't be courteous when I request a difficult favor from you, Sect Master Huo. Haha, now that's more like it. Huo Rulie was in the middle of a loud laugh when he suddenly stopped himself. Then he took out a gold-colored sound transmission jade before looking excited and pleased. Huo Poyun hurriedly asked upon seeing this, Has the ancient horned dragon appeared, Master? Huo Rulie clutched the sound transmission jade tight and nodded strongly. That's right. The ancient horned dragon has finally shown up, and it is only around 3,500 kilometers away from here. Poyun, send a message to all elders supervising the Inferno prison and tell that the ancient horned dragon has appeared right now. Tell them to retreat as soon as possible. All right. Huo Poyun hurriedly took out his sound transmission jade and closed his eyes, transmitting a soul message into the distance. I will contact my master immediately. Yun Qi had also grabbed his Ice Phoenix engraved jade at the same time, but Huo Rulie waved him off and said, It's fine. Considering your master's strength, she must have been the first person to discover the ancient horned dragon. She doesn't need anyone to inform her about its appearance. Also, she has probably crushed her sound transmission jade already. She crushed her sound transmission jade. Why? It's because she needs to focus her full concentration onto the battle when she fights the ancient horned dragon. If someone were to send her a message during the battle, even a split second of distraction may put her in danger. In the past, the first thing your master did before fighting the ancient horned dragon was to crush her sound transmission jade, Huo Rulie explained. Yun Qi nodded. I see. So she doesn't want anything to disturb her. It would appear that master is only a bit stronger than the ancient horned dragon. Otherwise, she wouldn't have made such a decision. Let's hope that everything will turn out as expected. It was pretty obvious that everyone in the Flame God Realm was feeling pretty optimistic about this time's horned dragon hunt. In fact, Mu Xuanian herself was feeling optimistic. Of course, there were a few reasons behind their optimism. One, they had almost succeeded in killing the ancient horned dragon last time. Two, Mu Xuanian's profound strength was far greater than it was 1,000 years ago. Three, the ancient horned dragon was wounded in its dragon fault. Yun Qi didn't know how much Mu Xuanian's profound strength had grown in the past 1,000 years, and he definitely didn't know how bad a wound to the dragon fault was to an ancient horned dragon. But, for some reason, he didn't feel as excited or expectant as he should be after hearing of the horned dragon's appearance. In fact, a sudden feeling of worry and irritation had struck him instead. Was he worrying over his master's safety? Yun Qi shook his head strongly so that he could be rid of these illogical thoughts. This wasn't the first time his master had fought the horned dragon, and she had held the upper hand in every battle. Even better, she almost managed to kill it last time. So her chance of victory would only be bigger and her risk of defeat lesser against a horned dragon who was wounded in its dragon fault. Even if she was somehow defeated in combat, she was more than strong enough to retreat without getting hurt. Yeah, rest well while I head over, okay? Huo Rulie said. We will definitely succeed this time. That horned dragon is the real reason you're hurt, so I'm absolutely going to pick its bones apart and cook you some dragon soup this time. Huo Yi nodded smilingly. I too have a feeling that we won't fail, father. Ha, let's go. Huo Rulie grabbed Yun Qi and Huo Poyun and rushed towards the Inferno prison immediately like thunder. Right now, the god-burying inferno prison that had burned since ancient times was burning even fiercer than before, almost as if a storm had swept over it. Many fiery pillars surged into the air and scorched the sky. Already, there were dozens of elder-level experts from the three great sects of the Flame God realm standing at the edge of the inferno prison. They all wore serious looks on their faces, and their red clothes were puffed up because they were enveloped in profound energy. They were keeping the heat surging from the god-burying inferno prison from getting past them, so as to protect the younger disciples. They were also there to prevent the shockwaves of the battle from sweeping through the place if the battle shifted northward. By now, everyone in the three great sects who attended for the ancient horned dragon's hunt had arrived. They weren't many, but they still numbered almost 1,000 people. Despite their differences, the people had all gathered in one place, and the person closest to the edge was less than 100 paces away from the god-burying inferno prison. "Why have they all gathered in one place?" Xianxia asked in surprise. "Haha, you'll know in a moment." Huo Rulie let out a laugh before descending swiftly at the foremost place of the group. Vermilion Bird Sect Master Yan Wangkang and Phoenix Sect Master Yan Zhuhai were standing shoulder to shoulder at Huo Rulie's chosen landing spot. Behind them, Yun Qi saw the familiar face of Yan Zhuo and Yan Mingxuan. Even further back, he could see many elders and disciples standing in orderly fashion and wearing excited looks on their faces. The younger disciples were especially excited considering that this would be the first time they get to witness the legendary ancient horned dragon with their own eyes. "You've come." Yan Wangkang turned around and nodded slowly at the trio. "Sect Master Yan, the Snow Song Realm King, must be close to the ancient horned dragon by now, I believe. Let us begin," Yan Zhuhai said. Yan Wangkang nodded and took a couple of steps forwards. Vermilion bird flames burned soundlessly and suddenly from his feet, before spreading in the direction of the god-burying inferno prison and quickly entering. Very soon they became connected with the inferno flames. A fiery line immediately linked Yan Wangkang's body and the god-burying inferno prison. Yan Wangkang closed his eyes, and the surrounding voices grew quiet at nearly the same time. Some of the younger disciples had even stifled their breathing. "What is he doing?" Yun Qi thought in astonishment and doubt. Everyone was staring at Yan Wangkang right now. The silence lasted for a very long time. 15 full minutes later, Yan Wangkang finally opened his eyes and swung his left arm upwards. His palm was pointed sideways and upwards towards the sky as a gigantic profound formation suddenly lit up in midair. The profound formation was covered in compressed flames. Yan Wangkang's hand made a different gesture, and the flames inside the profound formation instantly dissipated. Then the huge, clear image of a sea of flames appeared clearly inside the formation. There was a giant beast covered in fire scales floating right at the center of the image. The beast's head was huge, and its long, three-pronged horns were alight with soaring flames. Although it looked both fierce and fiendish, the dragon's head was still recognizable at first glance. Its torso and claws were far longer and thicker than any fire dragon Yun Qi had seen in the past, and its tail was similar to a giant python's, in that it was far longer than its torso. Its entire body was covered in scarlet scales and burning light was reflecting from every one of them. An intimidating aura was transmitted from the image of the profound formation. It turned every younger disciple pale with shock. "So this is an ancient horned dragon?" Huo Poyun's eyes turned wide as he muttered under his breath. "It is as Master has described. Still, it is a lot scarier than the description would suggest." This giant beast was none other than an ancient horned dragon. More accurately speaking, it was the ancient horned dragon that Mu Xuanian was about to fight. Yun Qi was shocked beyond words. What's going on? Is it a refraction of spiritual perception? Yan Wangkang was at the Divine Sovereign realm, so he was incredibly powerful. Still, this ancient horned dragon was an entire 3,500 kilometers away from where they were right now. No matter how powerful he was, it just sounded impossible to stretch one's spiritual perception to 3,500 kilometers, not to mention visualizing to such an extent. Sect Master Yan's spiritual perception is this powerful? Yun Qi couldn't help but whisper. Huo Poyun came back to himself and shook his head in explanation. That isn't the case. You may not know this, Brother Yun, but this is in fact a special will projection Sect Master Yan has created with the flame power of the vermilion bird. Special will projection? Yun Qi looked even more confused. This is a special soul ability that only those who possess the flame power and soul of the vermilion bird can use. The flames allow a cultivator to extend their vermilion bird will to any place that has fire. So as long as there is fire, the cultivator's will is everywhere. Huo Rulie pointed at the burning line between Yan Wangkang and the god-burying inferno prison. If you observe that burning line, you will notice that it is the connection that transmits Sect Master Yan's vermilion bird will all the way to the god-burying inferno prison. The fire of the god-burying inferno prison then returns and reflects everything that is happening at the ancient horned dragon's place. In fact, the technique doesn't project images only. It can even project voices and roughly auras. Xianxia nodded slightly after pondering for a moment. He was starting to understand how the technique functioned. To put it simply, the vermilion bird will was conducted through fire, and it could reach anywhere as long as fire was present. It was characteristically similar to the conduction of electricity. Since the god-burying inferno prison was full of fire, one could theoretically conduct their willpower anywhere in the place as long as they possessed sufficient mental strength. Unfortunately, the depths of the god-burying inferno prison are too terrible. Even with Sect Master Yan's strength, his power and his mental strength would be burned into nothingness instantly if he probed any deeper than a kilometer. Otherwise, not only would we be able to detect the ancient horned dragon sooner, we would be able to learn the secrets that lie at the bottom of the inferno prison too. Huo Rulie sighed a little regretfully. Xianxia's eyebrows moved once. The vermilion bird's will projection, an ability that was unique to the vermilion bird flame, was an extremely scary ability. If a sea of flames were to erupt during combat, the vermilion bird's will could be spread out to sense every enemy's position, aura, and action as long as they were hanging inside the sea of flames. This meant that the entire burning zone could be the cultivator's eyes, the vermilion bird flame. I heard from my master that this ability depletes mental strength pretty quickly. Considering how far the battle is, the rate of consumption must be incredibly huge. I doubt that Sect Master Yan can hold out for long, Huo Rulie said softly. It was at this moment something changed in the aura projected from the screen. An azure-colored spatial rift was suddenly torn open from the sky, and a white figure descended like a dream. "Master," Xianxia blurted and looked up in a hurry after sensing her aura. Xuanian looked down at the ancient horned dragon with icy eyes. Her figure looked incredibly small compared to the ancient horned dragon, but the moment she appeared a power that enveloped even the sky instantly and fully suppressed her enemy's fiendish aura. The boiling sea of flames all around her actually subsided and turned completely quiet, almost as if the blue sky had fallen on them.